there was a lot of anger inside of me that I had just been carrying my whole entire life that would never go away and never went anywhere because I was never addressing it. I was never speaking to it. I was never allowing it to be felt. And then on top of that anger was shame. Those two things and connecting to those things helped my nervous system start to calm down. And then it's just like, that's the chop wood, carry water that eventually led me to a happy, joyful life.
Because it's day one.
Day one of?
Phase one.
Right?
75 hard.
I couldn't remember because I did a little story on it, and I couldn't remember if this was considered phase one or phase two.
So this is,
What's the 75 hard part? Is that just for fucks arounds and finds outs? What's that all about?
That's right. It is a little around find out. So 75 hard, I've done it a few times now. I just completed my second time through the whole thing. It's 75 days. It's a very strict, like...
I know what it is, dude. I'm talking
why are you
about...
asking me?
Like you said that, because now we're on to phase...
Oh, what's phase... Well, you didn't say what's phase one.
Yeah. Is the beginning part, the 75 hard part, is that phase one?
No.
Phase
so
one?
this is phase one. So that's just that's like the
you were
buy-in.
about to describe everything.
I was like, I don't know, Craig. I guess maybe our listeners haven't,
Right?
caught up to this part.
So this part is...
So phase one is the same things as 75 hard, but we're only going to do it for 30 days.
Okay.
But there's some additional things in there that kind of suck, right? So you also have to do like a 5-minute cold shower, right?
I did mine today.
I did mine today too.
It felt great.
I would not say that same thing. I tried. I even broke my own rule because I set my 5-minute timer. I turned the radio on, set a 5-minute timer, and I'm like, cool. If I'm going to be in here, like I wash my body, right? I'm like, because I got to be moving. I can't just stand there.
I got a technique for you.
What's that?
Are you ready? So I did my nice warm shower just like normal, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end, I turn it to cold. And I've got a buddy of mine who's a Wim Hof instructor.
Okay.
And he talks a lot about the back of your neck here, like your upper back and the base of your spine, or not the base, but the top of your spine and the base of your neck and everything like that. And that's like the sweet spot to get cold because that's where like all the fatty brown stuff is, right?
Yeah.
So...
I'm white.
I go cold. Well, you got it too. It's like the adipose something, or it's where the good stuff is.
The good stuff.
So that's the
is
spot.
That the tasty part of Craig?
Yes.
The good fats.
Like if you were going to go
the
cannibal,
avocado.
this is where you want to get.
That's the avocado of Craig.
But as far as cold exposure, like if you do an ice bath, that's why you want to submerge
Get
fully
down below the neckline.
because you're hitting that spot right there.
Okay.
It's all like science stuff. And so I turn around after the warm part and I just let that spot bake. And it sucks, obviously.
So you get that really hot?
No, cold.
Really cold.
Yeah, so I hit that spot first with the cold.
Yeah.
And then I'm just sitting there and I wait until I have regulated my breath. Once my breath is regulated and calm and everything's good to go and I'm just in a good flow with my breath after that, then I'll turn around and I'll do the same thing and I'll let it hit the front of me. So now it's in my face and on my chest and I have to regulate and calm my breath on that side. And then once I've done both sides back and forth like that once, it's 5 minutes. Typically, it's around 5 minutes. So it's just a nice, relaxing, cool, calm, peaceful 5-minute cold shower.
I don't know if you let's talk about the definition of relaxing, right? I think you're using that word wrong.
It was very relaxing. I enjoyed it. I'm actually excited to do it for a whole month.
Really?
I'm looking forward to it. Yours not so much?
I interrupted, like we had just got back from the gym, right? And I was like, hey, I had already eaten. And so I was like cold off, but now I smelled bad. And I jumped in the shower and then I was like, oh, I've got to do my 5-minute cold shower. So I wasn't mentally prepared for it. And I was like, all right, well, fuck, just go. So I just literally set my timer. I set it for like 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So I have time to adjust it.
Yeah.
And I just get in and I just, and it got, and I just sit there and I grab the soap and I was like, well, I can, do the thing and wash my body. And then I was like, all right. And then I stood there and I like do the turnaround. I keep trying to move, right? And then finally I was like, man, how long has it been? And I looked up and I had 2 minutes to go. I was like, shit. It's like, this is the worst. And I like music playing because I can, a song is about anywhere between, so
you
sometimes.
give it 2 songs, you're there.
Yeah, right? You're like, this is easy. So yeah, that sucked. Carnivore's going, I don't want to say fun or great. I intentionally picked the worst thing. Like the worst, I think, way mentally to do it. I just like ground beef and eggs. Like I'm just going to start with this, right? Just fucking, we're gonna white, what would you call it? White knuckle this.
That's white trash in it,
yeah,
man.
dude, right?
Like,
I put some eggs on my ground beef. I'm fucking fancy. I made 2 fucking over easy eggs and put it on my ground beef.
Ground beef.
Yeah, and I seasoned, salt, pepper, and all that. The ground beef, but that was good. It wasn't bad. But I know when I'm on the road, like when I'm going to be especially for work and stuff, like, okay, like I'm going to be eating the steaks, because I'm going to go, like, let me get 7 eggs, right?
Yeah.
What else you want? You got any celery? Like just
half a pound of bacon.
Yeah, right. Let me get 3 orders of bacon and 6 eggs.
Yep.
I can't eat for another, I'm going to be on an airplane, right? Like I'm going to spend $40 a day on jerky,
Dude, it's so hard traveling on and trying to eat this way because it's such a, like, I used to get all the hard boiled eggs, the ones that are already good to go. And
Jamie gets those, and I'll probably get some of those too.
Yeah.
But I plan to eat a lot of eggs, so we'll go through that. But yeah, it's day 1. I still have to do my. So there's a couple other things you got to do. 10 minutes of meditation. I haven't done that yet today. That's going to be my evening time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait till the kids go to bed. Let's not try to meditate in the middle of fucking chaos.
The best time to meditate is after physical activity. So that's actually the whole purpose of yoga. And that's why at the end of yoga is the shavasana, which is just that corpse pose, the relaxed pose.
I do that on a regular basis. I do some bedroom...
Some bedroom corpse
yoga
pose.
Yeah, and then I just like lay down.
But that's the reason why yoga, because you exhaust the body physically, and then that way when it comes time for meditation, it's much easier because your brain isn't running and doing all sorts of different stuff.
One of the guys I follow, Dan Martell, super smart business guy, his whole thing right now is like exhaust the body, tame the mind.
Yeah.
So it's fun because I was talking to my mom about this, and she, in such a, God, I know she's probably watching this, and I just want to let you know how much I love you and care for you. And I just appreciate how supportive you've been of me. And honestly, because of who you are and who I am in our relationship, I believe that's factored a lot into where I am today. Thanks for being so supportive. I talked to her this morning. She's like, yeah, I think you shouldn't do it right now. It's terrible. I was like, yeah, no, I got a lot of going on right now. We've just bought this gym, got all kinds of crazy stuff going on at work. I was like, yeah, I got a bunch of travel going on. I was like, pfft.
She was like, yeah, now's not the time.
She's like, you're already doing, she's like, you're doing the hard shit already. I was like, yeah, no. I was like, here's the deal. I said I was going to do it. So I got to do it.
Yeah, I almost bailed on the shower because I got home from the gym and took the shower. And I was just like, fuck this. I'll eat the meat. I'll do all this other stuff. I'm not going to do the shower. Because it felt so good to get that nice hot shower on. But I'm excited. It's all going to go well.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I said I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it. I'm excited. Like, I'm a little, like, you said you had steak. Like, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Right? I will say I have yet to feel full.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, I just don't, and this could be, I don't know how much meat I have to eat. Like, I just threw a couple scoops in there and like 2 eggs on it. And I was like, all right, let's give this a rip. And I ate it and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm full or not. I was like, I could totally eat more.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I'm full though.
I very much had the give me something sweet afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was like, that was great. I loved everything about it. And then I'm like, I need a treat. Give me a fucking scoop of peanut butter. I need something, right?
So Lincoln is in the local like rec league basketball.
Yeah.
And today was his basketball game. And Lincoln is, I give a little man credit. I really do. Dude just loves basketball, right? Doesn't watch basketball. We don't watch NBA. Like, it's not a sport. We watch the NFL.
Yeah.
Loves basketball, though. Loves playing it. And I'm super supportive. He's not that great. He's getting better. He's like, okay. And we're trying to have the conversation like, hey, man, if you want to be good, you've got to practice. You got to, like, put forth effort. You're not going to naturally be talented at this sport. Like, I hate to tell you, kid, you're not going to be 6 foot tall. Like, it ain't going to happen. You're not going to be like, your hand-eye coordination's not going to be great there, right? And but he's trying, and he's doing some like extra sessions at the Y, right, with one of their instructors, and he's on this team, and they haven't won a game yet, and his team
hasn't yet.
His team, well, before today, so spoiler, They won a game. But they had 2 shutouts.
Oh, on their not
Like, not
so
only have they lost their games,
Okay.
like 2 games they didn't score any points.
for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, no, at all. Like,
That's
yeah,
tough.
Yeah, it was rough. There was one of those where you're like, is there a mercy on this? Like, and it's like, yeah, that team's better. Like, that team's better.
You know, it's interesting because Asher played basketball a few years back in, that time frame when he was in that age in Green. And it's like they don't, unless you're teaching it or you're playing it or your parent, you know what I mean? Like, unless dad's all about basketball and stuff like that, it's not one of those sports that you just pick up easily because it's not really played a lot, right? They're not doing a lot of basketball and PE in elementary school and things like that. So
yeah, well, and you're probably shooting, right? Like, you're in PE, you'll play lightning where you're shooting the basket, right? And you'll probably do some of that. Like, I did some of that, but like 5-on-5 basketball, like, or 4-on-4, like, no, I didn't do a lot of that, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I played. They called it Junior Jazz.
Okay,
Was the youth league back in the day? They still have it, I think.
I'm sure,
because the Utah Jazz is the basketball team.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I did that
out.
for several years growing up, and I loved it. I'm a good basketball player.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That checks out in my mind.
I mean, I'm not super. I'm 6'1", so
Yeah, I mean,
it's tall enough for good basketball, right?
Can you jump and touch rim
yeah.
still? Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I'm like really in shape and I can dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can still.
I don't know if I could do that now. Actually, I'm almost certain I could do it now. I'm going to believe in myself. I think I could do it now.
I like that. I support that.
Yeah.
I can still touch rim.
Yeah.
No doubt. I think I did it like 8 months ago.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, yeah, and they're like, you can't do that. I was like, yeah, I can. And they're like, well, I was like, well, I'll tell you what. Last time I tried, I could. I was like, so let's see. And they're like, how long ago was that? I was like, a decade,
Yeah.
And I jumped up and touched the, like,
I would love to play some basketball.
I don't.
Is there any basketball at the Y?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. But I don't play. Talk to Big Chad.
Does he play?
I think, yeah, he plays basketball.
Okay. I've been meaning to ask you, do they have a pool at the Y?
They do.
Okay.
They do. They have like free swim time, and they have lap time, and like the kids have times that they go. We love the Y.
Is it a decent pool?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good sized pool.
Okay.
It's way better than like Aunt Myrtle's in the backyard.
But you know how like sometimes the public pools are pretty shitty.
It's not a public pool.
Well, I mean, it's people there, right?
Yeah. But I mean, there's always lifeguards. Like it's a real pool.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's
We might
like,
have to do the Y.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we like the Y.
Do they have yoga there?
I have to imagine that they do, right?
I'm thinking I might go there and teach yoga and then get a free membership.
That could be a thing.
Yeah.
That could be a thing. Listen, I think the Y does, our Y especially, I think is just phenomenal. I think it's a great organization. And it's funny because I didn't grow up in it. I didn't know about, like, the Y wasn't a thing really where it could have been around, but I wasn't, I had no awareness of it.
The only reason I know about it's from movies.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
I knew they existed, but I think I was like 25 before I ever saw it. I was like, oh, it's fucking Y, right? Like, because I saw the sign. And then I think I was in my 20s, and I was like, well, how much? I think I asked him, how much is it? Like, well, it depends. I was like, the fuck does that mean? And then like, it depends. What?
Is it like a sliding scale kind of thing?
I think, and actually, I don't know.
Okay.
Jamie signed us up.
Okay.
I have no idea.
We'll have to call her up. Call her up. Get her on the phone right now.
Right? Hey, babe. She's at the airport. She actually.
I'm sure that's exactly what she wants to do.
Yeah,
is
right.
Answer questions about the fucking Y right now.
I think. I don't know. So let's not talk about it because I don't want to
That's good.
put things out there that could not be. But I will say that I think they do a ton. They provide meals for kids who may not have them or have access to them. They have a great summer program it's not daycare for like the young kids. They have some young kid programs like, hey, if I'm going to go work out, you can drop them off. For RY, they don't have a really young program.
Yeah.
But they have after school programs for, if your parents are working, if you get 2 parents that are working till 5, 6 o'clock, like, and who's gonna watch the kids? So the Y helps with that after school care. That's phenomenal, and it's affordable.
That's good.
Right, and I think they have lots of scholarships and stuff like that.
That's good.
Yeah, we sponsor. So they do a tree in the lobby where I don't remember how much it is, but like every time you buy one, it's basically, I think it's a couple $100, $200, $50. It could be $50. It could be $200. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at this stuff. Right.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Let's call Jamie up.
Let's
She'll
go, Jamie.
know.
Yeah, Jamie knows all this stuff.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Woolly. I'm sure you've heard how we're all consuming copious amounts of microplastics. Well, it turns out all of that workout activewear that you're wearing also has those toxic chemicals embedded right into them. All of Woolly's clothes are 100% merino wool, which means it's a natural fabric, which is far better for your overall health. On top of their clothes not only looking good, they're naturally odor resistant and they wick moisture away from your body. So I wear them all the time, whether I'm working out, hiking, around the house, out for the night, it doesn't really matter. Woolly has you covered. I swapped out all of my boxers with Woolly. Not only do they look good, not only do they feel good, but I also wasn't wrapping my boys up in all of those synthetic materials and microplastics. So if you're ready to take your health seriously, it's time to go with Woolly. Listeners of this podcast can save 15% on anything at their website. Click the link in the description and be sure to enter in promo code BRAVE at checkout. It's time to get serious about your health, fellas.
She's the adult.
She's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's $500.
Oh, yeah, right? Wow. How many of those do we need? But it buys them Christmas presents. There's different ways to do it, but like it's a couple hundred kids that they do Christmas for. That's awesome.
That's super cool.
You know, so.
We used to do the shop with a cop thing.
Yeah.
That was always fun. I only got to do it. I'm trying to remember. I think I did it. I know I did it once. But yeah, I wasn't, they didn't, I don't know if they liked me or not, meaning not the kids. The kids were great, right? But it was one of those things where it's usually like because, like patrol officers are busy working, doing police work. And so it was usually like the SROs, the guys that were doing other things, or the officers that kind of have other duties that are in that space. Then they get to go do those kind of things as opposed to the ones that are out there actually doing the work. Mm-hmm. That sounded terrible. Look, if you're an SRO, you're a real police officer, you've got a badge, you've got a gun, you're a real cop. I'm not saying you're not. There's just levels to things, right?
That's the best. There's levels to things.
Right?
That's
there's definitely some cake jobs. Like there's some real easy laid back jobs in law enforcement that people like, that's what you want to get to. You want to get to that spot in your career where there was a guy, the SRO, so that's what is it? School resource,
school resource officer,
right? Yeah. There was a guy who was like I won't use his name, but he was a badass. He was a long time, had been on the department for like years.
Like Shaft. Badass.
Well, he was like imagine like small rural community version of Shaft.
Yeah.
So he was a farmer. He had, like on the weekends, he was definitely at the rodeo and he was throwing hay and all those kind of things. I mean, he had been around for so many years.
Still got a 6-shooter.
Oh, yeah. Well, probably not. There was the chief of police in Grantsville had a 6-shooter for a really long time. Awesome. It was terrible.
Especially as a cop, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know what that guy was doing, but this guy was the SRO, and that was basically because the chief was like, you got to go over there, because he didn't want to deal with him anymore, because he was from like the old school back in the day kind of style of policing where things were very, 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 very different, where it was a lot, it was just a different time. But it was fun. I always liked working with him. Every now and then you'd get the chance to hang out with him and do stuff, and it was always a good time. It was fun when he would like show up on stuff and help you with stuff.
You're like, whoa,
You're like, okay, I like this guy.
I like this guy.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's there are always levels to things. I mean, we've anytime you meet a Marine, anytime I meet another Marine, right? What'd you do? Right. It's always a conversation. It's what'd you do? When'd you serve? Right. And you can learn a lot. You can tell a lot about somebody's experience just by those two questions, right? You're like, what'd you do? You're like, I was a meteorologist. When were you in? And so like that'll change them. When were you in? 14 to 18, and you're like, okay. Not a lot of deployments were going on after 14, right? And up to 18, there was very small. He might have got a chance to go, probably did like went to Asia somewhere, or Australia, but probably never went to Afghanistan. And if there was, probably just sitting there, not much going on. You're like, I was in Iraq in 03. You're like, cool. Thank you for your service.
Some work there,
yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, shit's different.
Yeah.
Everybody's a little different in that stuff. So.
Yep. It's like when the guy that's a security officer comes up and he's like, hey, I do what you do. You're like, yep, you sure do.
Sure do, dude.
You're exactly
man.
the same thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you this. So I found this
you were talking
the other
about
day,
this, right?
So this isn't the baseball hat that I referred to on the previous episode, but my mom ended up doing the same thing to this hat. So this is
That's
old,
got the
yeah. So you can check it out. It's got the wings that had to be sewn into it.
So you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where this hat has been split and just been added, which is so cool.
Right.
We're like, way to go! Can I put it on?
You can try, yeah.
Okay, I want to see
if
how
it'll fit you.
Wow.
Does it fit?
Yeah, I mean, I can put like fingers up in this thing.
Yeah.
There's lots of room in that guy.
Yeah.
I can put my hand. Wow.
Yeah,
and
that
fits
was
you put that on. Can
I don't know if it still fits me with the fro, with the hair. Let's see.
Holy shit.
Ooh, fuck, I might wear this.
I mean, first of all, you look good.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Look at you.
Check that out.
I think you need to get a big rig. Like that. Yeah. Or a motorcycle.
Yes.
Right?
That's definitely on the list. Yeah, so this was my favorite hat.
I can't
growing
believe
up.
how tight that is on your head.
I know, right?
Dude, that was hanging like it was.
Yeah, I
got
got
a
a big
giant
head,
head.
dude. I told you. It's there's a lot up there. Big noggin.
My dad used to say, he's like, yeah, he's like, my brain's so big, he's pushing all my hair out.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad had a giant, well, we already talked about that. Giant
So
head.
isn't that cool?
That's super cool, man.
It was one of those things where
It's
I
a
think
custom
that
hat.
at the time, this was the biggest you could get, or at least the biggest that we could find.
I know there's a company out there now that makes like big hats.
Right. Yeah.
They like specifically, they're like, you got a big head, we make big hats.
Right. If I was a hat guy, I would definitely be all over it. I might wear this for a little bit.
Yeah, dude, I think you bring that thing back.
Looks good, right?
That's super cool.
The Dodgers were our favorite team growing up, right?
Hence the LA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get into, you brought up the other day, and then we did an episode and we totally got squirreled and went all over the place. But I thought it'd be great to come back to the happiness thing.
Yeah, we were talking. I wanted to talk about happiness because and really it's so I got this book, a buddy of mine, Scott Ramage, who I've never actually, like, I think physically met in person, but we've podcasted together. We have talked on the phone. Like, he's a guy who, like, helped me. I was a Marine. I was trying to help out. He helped me get this guy a job and all that. Didn't end up working out, but I appreciated the effort and all that. But he posted this book, The Gap in the Gain.
Gap in the Gain.
Right? And I was like, oh, what's this? And he recommended it. And I was like, and if I like a lot of the stuff that Scott does, I was like, well, if he's saying it, I was like, let me check it out. So I literally bought it, ordered it. I'm only 8 pages into it right now, but it's going to be the book I'm going to read for phase 1 of 75 Hard.
Oh, good.
Well, it'll be like my start because you got to read 10 pages a day of a
self-help book.
Not necessarily, like, I look at it as a nonfiction, right? I got to read some nonfiction.
Okay.
Something that's like going to help make my life better. So I read business books. I read leadership books, motivational books. I read books about business, sales, like anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot of books about, like, you're a good person. It's okay. Everyone's an asshole. You're not. That's what I think self-help books sound like.
Do you read them? Well, you don't read them, so how do you know?
No, I don't know. I'm just that's me making assumptions.
That's right.
And you know what happens when you make an assumption.
I do, asshole. So The Gap in the Gain. Do you remember the name of the author?
Shit. I could look it up real quick.
I'll look it up. You keep talking
Okay,
about it.
so, but the thing that really stuck out, and I literally open it up, and it's like just the pre-read, and it goes back to the Constitution and Thomas Jefferson talking about, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the choice there, the pursuit of happiness. And it goes into basically, if you are pursuing something, it's because you don't have it. You're looking to gain or to get to this spot. And the idea that I'm always working to, like, there was a little thing, I'll be happy after that next promotion.
Yeah.
I'll be a lot happier after we get this project done. I'll be a lot happier when, I'm done with school. I'll be a lot happier when I'm, when the kids are older.
Yeah, we're always putting it out there.
We're always putting it out there, and it's happiness isn't here, it's there. And I'm always working towards getting it. And I was like, well, I mean, I think that's, bullcocky, because I'm fucking happy, right? Like, I see the point of what it's saying. Like, hey, you can't just go out there and, like, you have to be happy in where you are.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're just like, oh, it's always out there. Like, you're never stopping and smelling the roses, right? You're never just enjoying. I try to think about it like happiness and love, right? Like, I'm not always working towards, I look at my wife and I'm like, God, like, you make me so happy. Like, you being here. But like, even the idea of our relationship and like what I think of her as a human and all that, like, I love every bit of that.
Yeah.
And I'm just super happy with where things are. I don't know what the rest of the book entails or anything like that. I'm still just kind of stuck on this whole idea, but I'm going to assume from this bit that it's like, no, like, you got to enjoy this stuff.
Yeah. So the author's Dan Sullivan.
Okay.
And it's one of Steph's favoriteest books.
Yeah.
I was taught, because as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, I know that book. Steph does all the book reading and I do all the podcast listening.
Gotcha.
So I don't read books very much. Like, I don't even remember the last, I can't wear this.
No, just getting you too
I've got
much.
the ADHD thing, dude.
Yeah, it's just
why I can't wear sunglasses. Like, I can handle it on my head.
Yeah.
But it was the brim. The whole time I'm like, look up, look up, look up, look up, look up, look up, look up. There's something there. There's something there. What's that thing? I can fucking see that thing.
It's touching.
And the whole time I'm like, pay attention to Ben. So I look at Ben and then I'm like, look up, look up, look up, look up, look up, look up. Yeah, I can't do it.
Anyway, it's okay. It's okay. Listen, I don't know if hats are going to work for me anymore, so. Because the brim touches, and this is where the microphones are or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Were you much of a hat guy anyways?
I
don't know if
not
I've
a
ever
huge
even
hat.
really seen you in a hat
I
before.
wear my Detroit Lions hat around.
That's right. We got a picture of that.
Yeah.
That was one of the pictures we took one morning. And anyways. Gap in the Gain.
Gap in the Gain.
So
Squirrel.
Steph loves it. She's read it multiple times. It's one of those books that she'll come back to at different times in her life because it's like she's always gleaning more from it, right? Those good books that you'll read it, 2 years later and you're getting different stuff because you're in a different place in life and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of what she talks about in it, or at least what she shares with me, right, is exactly what you're kind of describing, where it's like, we'll push happiness off into the future. And it's like, I'll be happy when, entering anything. It doesn't really matter. We all have our list of things that are keeping us from happiness. And it's the whole concept and idea of like, not just be happy now, but recognizing the importance of success in these small incremental chunks where it's like each and every single day, rather than thinking it's some big, huge, end thing.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not doing it justice, right? She'd be like, that's not really what I said.
She's like, obviously you don't listen to me, dum-dum.
Exactly. But I'd love to get into not just happiness, but more of like fulfillment in life. What do you find, like, what would be your definition of happy? And what does that really look like? So if we look at Ben and he's like, when is Ben the happiest in your life?
Can we talk about that?
Let's do it.
No.
Let's start a podcast so that we can talk just about
this. Yeah, right. It sounds like a great idea. When am I the happiest? I think that, like, I'm definitely the happiest when I'm in my home, right? With my wife is near, right? My kids are near. We're doing things. I'm being like, we've accomplished something for the day. Like I happiness for, like, the idea of sitting on the couch and doing nothing all day, that's not happiness for me.
Okay.
Right. Like, I need to be up and doing stuff. I got to be active about some things. And whether that's working on a project, building something, working out, going somewhere, doing something, like I just got to be on the move a little bit. So I like to be on the move. I like to really just hang out and, like, it's fun to go do stuff with people, right? I find that because I am a much more of an extrovert, so I enjoy interacting with people, but I like interacting with people and my people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I like doing that. I like seeing stuff and doing stuff. Talking about, trying to figure out something for me and the kids and Jamie to do shortly here. Like a little spring break. I don't know when that's coming up, or Easter break. I don't know. There's some holidays coming up do something for those.
For sure.
Right. But I think that would be fun. I think, doing those things, and I think that stuff's fun. Making memories of things. Like, remember that time we went and did this? Like, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're at a point in your life where you're living, most days happy, like you're living a happy life, a fulfilled life kind of thing? Where would you say that most of the time would you describe that you're living a happy life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually was just talking to a guy about this. Everything is just over the top, just in spades, like I look at where life had been in the past, and it's hard not to be happy about what's going on, right? Like, from some of the hardest things that I've done and some of the hardest moments in my life, and just to see the ascension of this, like, I went through a bunch of really shitty relationships, like I totally had some like traumatic, like anger, marriages and just stupid shit like that. And I look at my wife and I'm like, I just don't understand how, like, it should be illegal almost. Like, it should almost, I hope it's not, right? But like, if like, she's too happy. I can't, So I think about that. I think about, this sounds so stupid, right? When I was a kid, I was enamored with tractors. And I don't mean like, let's set the stage here. I'm not talking about I was 3 and I had like a plastic, green tractor. I was in
John Deere.
Yeah, I was in 3rd grade, and we didn't have any money, right? I didn't have any tractor toys because that stuff costs money. So I didn't have any of that. What I did have was the free pamphlets that you can get at John Deere about all the tractors. I used to carry those around in my backpack and would pull them out at lunch and look at them.
Okay.
And just read about the different tractors and the different implements and all this stuff. And my mom would let me, the John Deere dealership was next to the doctor's office that we would go to. And I was always like, can we go over to the tractor dealership? She's like, why? I was like, just want to go see what's going on. And I would just look at the tractors. I was just enamored by them, right? I have a fucking tractor. It's not a big tractor, but whatever.
It's a tractor,
still a fucking tractor. Gets the job done.
Right.
Who cares how big it is? Right. But it's not a John Deere. It's a Kubota, which is fun.
Do you remember what it was like? What was it when you were a kid that you were so attracted to? Like, what was it about tractors that
I think it's just the idea that there's this big mechanical thing that can, it's this extension of your body that can do more. I'm a big fan of, why do I think strength and conditioning is so important? Why do I believe it's important to be strong? It's my ability to inflict my will upon the world and time. Like, I can take things and move them. That's my ability to do that. A tractor, you can move bigger shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I can grab a tire from my truck and I can pick it up. It'd probably be fine. But I could move it, right? Throw my back out. But I could grab my tractor and I could pick the back of my truck up, right? Like, that's fucking cool.
Okay.
Right?
Like, it's all making sense now.
Yeah. Think about it. Like, if you had to move a hay bale,
right?
Like, hay bales are fucking heavy.
They are. Right?
Your small square bales are, 50, 60, 40 to 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Your big rounds, those things can weigh 1,000+ pounds. I mean, even at minimum 1,000 pounds, smaller rounds. But I know a lot about hay. Not a lot. I know more than the average bear about hay. But stupid stuff. But those big bales, I mean, they're 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
So if I was like, hey, like, can you move, like, this bale's here, can you move it? You're like, no, it's just hay. Right? But there's a lot of it right there. And you need a tractor to move it. I can do that.
I get it.
So that's happiness. I mean, when they dropped that tractor off, I was like, yeah, this is super cool. I used a tractor to cut my grass. It's the most expensive lawnmower you've ever seen. Right? Yeah, it totally is. But I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I love getting out there driving it. I love getting to do stuff. When it snowed, I got to like back drag and like take care of some of that. That was awesome. Then I was like, man, I really wish we had a paved driveway. So then I could have like actually, and then a plow.
Wow.
Oh, that would have been right.
Yeah. All I ever wanted was, I just wanted a 4-wheeler with a plow on it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be able to plow my fucking driveway in the wintertime. Yeah. Got so tired of fucking shoveling, man.
Yeah. It's not an issue really for us anymore.
I know. It's so nice.
Right. Isn't it? That's the thing about like living here comparatively,
Right.
Michigan, Utah, right? You're like, oh yeah,
Don't ever have to fucking shovel snow again.
we have a snow shovel.
I don't.
Oh yeah, yeah, like fuck it.
I'm not buying no fucking snow shovel.
I don't even know why we have one. I think it snowed the first year we were here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got here on December 20th. It snowed like December 20. I think it snowed on Christmas.
Yeah.
So we had to get one. But yeah, so that's like that's an example of happiness, right? Like when I was a young man, almost every vehicle I owned came from an auction, right? Where it was like literally, I had vehicles that lasted less than a week.
Yeah.
You know, $100 you drive it out of here car that exploded 4 days later, and you're like, well, that sucks. We put used tires on a car, drove it for 4 days, and then went and took the tires back. Right, because we junked it, and I was like, "Hey, you can have the car, but give me those fucking tires because those are good used tires."
Some good used tires, yeah.
Right? I'll put those on another car. You just hold out. And I mean, we like, yeah, it's those are the like when you've gone through those experiences, and I wake up and I look at my life, and I'm like, I mean, life's great at this point. Like, I'm just like, why do I work so hard and go like, first of all, I can't sit down, right? So I, got to run. But at the same time, I like working hard. I like putting forth effort into things. I like doing, like, I love Jiu-Jitsu today was, you know what? There was only a few of us in the class. It was one of the hardest days I've had.
It was a good Saturday.
It was a great Saturday, right?
I put a little work on you a bit.
What?
I put a little work on you a little bit.
I put a little work on you.
I know, it was nice. I'm really trying to get curious about trying to help Ben with his jiu-jitsu because you come at me with the exact same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I just want to help you see that there's another path.
There is.
There is.
There
so
totally
it's like
is.
I'm forcing you slowly down a different path.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to go this way. And I'm like, why don't you try this way? And you're like, I don't want to go that way.
I don't want to go that
this way. And I'm
because
like,
you know what though?
go this way. See what
This
happens.
is a really effective path.
It is a very effective path. It's very effective. It's fun to try to steer you in a different direction. It's fun to try to move that tractor in another fucking direction than the path that it wants to go.
I'm like, but it's really happy going this way. I'm like, I see what you're doing. I can get back to my path from here. Yeah. No, I think it was great. It was great. It was great. But I think, yeah, so all the extra stuff is just, it's just super fun. And I love the hard work and I like the achievement. And, nothing's ever too bad. And Jamie, who I love I say this all the time, and she's like, you can't use that, right? Nobody's shooting at me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how's it going? Nobody's shooting at me. Right? And I know my mom says this a lot, right? With when her and her husband, they talk about it. Be like, yeah, you know what? There's food in that fridge. We got a roof over our head, right? When I turn the light switch, the power comes on, right?
Yeah.
Like, though it sounds simple, but when you've not had those, sometimes all of them makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And because of that, you're like, yeah, this is like, what do I have to be unhappy about? Does it suck? The fucking engine in the car blew up.
Right.
That's a huge kick in the teeth. Actually, you know what? It's a kick in the dick. It really is. Right. It just went out of warranty. It's had nothing but issues.
Yeah.
And the engine died. That sucked. And it was super expensive. Way more than I was like, because I've replaced engines and I've blown up engines in vehicles, right? Because buy shitty fucking cars. And I'm like, oh, I can change this engine. No big deal. I look it up and it's like, nah, fam. You don't have the equipment. It's not even the know-how anymore. It's the equipment. I'm like, okay. I sent Juan, our friend, right, who's a mechanic, sent him a text. He's like, nah, fam. You ain't doing that shit.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to have all this other equipment, and I don't have that. He's like, it's way above my pay grade. I was like, all right. I called around to all the dealerships. Like, I was like, I'll trailer this car, 100 miles away to get this thing done. And they were all like, no, it's going to be like, way lots of money. And it's like,
Just had to bite the bullet, man.
Just had to bite the bullet. And then it's like, all right, like, fuck, that sucks. It was super expensive, but it was something that, like, hey, we can take care of it. Like, it was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's not what I wanted to do. Right.
This is the happiest I've ever been in my life.
I think that's awesome.
It's literally just I mean, I can easily say that and it comes from a place of like so much peace within myself.
So hang on, let me ask you the question, because
Yeah.
I know that you're going to share this, but I want to frame it from the same question. What makes Craig happy?
I've learned over the years, as far as like my life goes, where when I'm the happiest, happiness to me is peace, where life is just really peaceful, where it's easy. And it's not from a perspective of like not doing hard things or anything like that, but it's smooth, it's peaceful. I can do what I want to do.
Something's ticking.
Right? Somebody fucking planted something over there in the cupboard behind us.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Just going shaggy on this. It wasn't me.
Yeah, happiness to me is when things are not, when I say calm, it's not like they're just peaceful. Like there's a difference to me than calm and peacefulness. And I like it when it's peaceful. And I like, same thing, I like spending time with people that I love and people that I care about, doing things that I enjoy. And that doesn't really matter what it is, right? It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Oftentimes it's just if I'm doing it with people that I love and care about, and all those kind of things that you mentioned, making memories, all those kind of things, obviously spending time with my family, with my kids. I love all of that stuff, and all of that makes me really happy. But I've honed it in so much to where it's like, because it's only within the last, truthfully, the last few years of my life have been the most, like I've experienced some of the most radical change in my life. And it's based off of decisions that I've made directly for like my peace and my happiness. And it comes through healing, and it comes through unpacking different things like that from childhood and really facing a lot of really difficult, challenging things. But at the end of the day, it was all for a reason. It was like driving me towards this place where I'm just like, I just have so much peace and calm, and I get to do what I want to do every day. And I get to live life in such a way where if there's stuff that I don't want to do, I don't do it. And that has brought me so much joy and peacefulness and happiness. And it's really interesting when I think about it from the perspective of like stress. I still have stress in my life, but I almost acknowledge, like, this is what it feels like now, where it's like I can recognize when stress is coming up inside of me. I can recognize when I'm starting to feel stress happen in my body, and I can choose to either continue to feel it or recognize it as what it is and be like, yeah, I'm not feeling that right now. I'm not going to allow myself to get stressed out about things, because the majority of the time it was always about future or past. Very rarely was it ever about present. Right? It was usually like if I was going through a really difficult thing in the present moment, which still happens, obviously, right? I can get through that experience, and not everything, but the vast majority of stuff that I'm dealing with in everyday life, present moment stuff, isn't stressful. It's not that big of a deal. Do you know what I mean? It's like the level of stress. It's like you said, right? It's like things aren't bad compared to what they used to be like. And even today, when something bad happens or I have to go through some stressful experience, it's such a different experience because I'm going through it as a different person. Because outside of those stressful moments, my life is very calm, and I'm choosing to not, again, feel the stress. I'm choosing to not worry about the future. And it's not to say I'm not worried about the past. I'm still doing a lot of work on processing the past and thinking about the past and dealing with the past, but I experience it so different today, where I'm not as stressed about it. I'm not allowing it to affect my present as much as I used to. I'm really, really prioritizing like present moment. What not just feels good, but what do I want to do? What do I, how do I want to live? How do I want to be? And it's really just a shift in the last 6 months because it's the whole thing where it was like our biggest stress, and I say ours, meaning like mine and Steph's in our relationship, has not our relationship, like our relationship has stress, obviously,
Yeah.
right? But our life together, it's always financial stress.
Yep.
And financial stress is something that I've experienced my entire life. It's not something new. And I had to really start to understand and look at it, because I feel like I had a relationship with money, a relationship with finances, not even like when I say relationship, I don't mean like.
Today's episode is brought to you by Heritage Steel. Heritage Steel offers premium cookware made right here in the USA, and that's something that is very, very important for me, is that it is a US-made product. Not only is this product made here in the US, but it's a family-owned and Tennessee, woot woot, produced item. You can use them any way you want. You can put them on your stove and cook. You can put them in the oven. They're going to be great for all of that, and they're super easy to clean. And guess what? If you're listening to this right now and you're on the Brave Men Dare podcast, you get 10% off. Go to heritagesteel.us/brave and get you 10% off anything in the Heritage Steel inventory. Make sure you use promo code BRAVE when you're checking out, and that'll get you that 10% off anything in the Heritage Steel store. Heritage Steel, premium cookware for less.
I had a program. That's a better word. I
Gotcha.
had a program.
So you said relationship, and I thought about you laying in bed on a bunch of money. Like you're like, oh, it's all the money.
Right. It's
Not that
scene
relationship?
from, what's that? The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Stephanie and I sleep on hundreds. And but it's the program that I have around money and all the different things in association with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point where it was like, I'm allowing that program to influence my present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my happiness in the present moment for future unknowns.
Yeah.
And so I just let all of that stuff go. And it's like, it's easy to say, oh, just let it go and everything like that. But it came at a cost, in the sense of like a lot of real work of sitting with it, dealing with it, feeling it, facing it. And at the end of the day, I started to see money from a completely different perspective, where I didn't see it anymore from that, it's like money and I need money and this, that. I just saw money as love. I replaced money with love. And so now when I have to pay bills, it's how much love I'm sharing with the world, how much love I'm giving out into the world, right? I'm sending the power company so much love. I'm sending the mortgage company so much love. And I'm thinking about all the people, because it's really easy for me to think about everybody that I'm paying bills to as assholes, right? It's like these companies and these organizations and all these kind of things. It's like these sons of bitches, right? But at the end of the day, there's a person, there's a person on the other end of that who, is
getting
filing
paid.
paperwork, answering phone calls, sending emails. At the end of the day, companies have employees. And so I was thinking about all of those people that I was putting food on their table and, keeping their lights on and buying presents for their kids on their birthdays and on their, by all the love that I was sharing with the world. And I don't worry anymore about how much love I'm getting, because I have, like, my cup is overflow, like it overfloweth with love. I am not lacking for love in any way. So I don't have to worry about how much money I'm getting, because I just see money as love. And so I'm good. And it's not saying, oh, I'm good, I don't want it. You know what I mean? I'm not turning a blind eye
You're like,
to love, right?
Yeah.
I'm very, very open to receiving love. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But at the same time, that was enough of a reprogramming around that to where I don't stress about it like I used to. And I recognize too that, like, I can stress about it.
mm-hmm.
And I have found that, like, I will stress about it. But what's been really fascinating is when I find myself stressing about it from that old program mindset of like, oh my God, lack, and stressing about this. And it's like, how are we going to pay this? And how are we going to pay that? And we don't know how we're going to do this. And we're going to have to do that. In those moments, what I have found really fascinating is it's less about some sort of like program and me trying to change something. And it's more about just like, I'm tired. I'm recognizing that when my nervous system is taxed, most of the time it's because I'm worn out and I'm tired for some reason, right?
Yeah.
That's when those fear-based programs will start to come up way, way more.
Yeah.
And I, like, the other night I was coming home from a class from Jiu-Jitsu and I was tired. Like, it had been a really long day for me. I had been up from like 4 or 5 in the morning, and it was just one of those like go days. And by the time I got home at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm like, I still got to shower, and I still got to like fucking do some yoga, and I still got to get on, all these
I
things.
know. I called you and you were like, yeah, man, that's great. Cool. I'll talk to you later, dude. I was like, all right, bye, Craig. You don't want to talk to me.
And what was so interesting was when I was driving home, I could feel like I was starting to think all of these negative thoughts. I was starting to look at everything from this really painful, frustrated, pissed off perspective. And I was like, why am I seeing things this way? And it was like, oh, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And I knew as soon as I got home and I went to bed and I would wake up the next day, those things would go away. And that's exactly what happened. I woke up the next day and I felt great.
There you go.
Because I was rested. And so I wasn't in the stress of all that chaos anymore, because the truth of it was that chaos doesn't really exist for me. It's just, I was tired. I was just worn out. So happiness is one of those things that, again, it's like I want life to be simple. I want it to be peaceful. I want to be able to move and do the things that I want to do when I want to do them. And for a long time, I thought that I was going to be happy when, and I could live my life this way once.
Yeah.
And it was always surrounded around money,
Yeah.
where it was like, I'll be able to rest and, wake up whenever I want to wake up and kind of do whatever I want to do and live my life however I want to live once we got like $1 million in the fucking bank,
Yeah.
right? Once I'm financially secure enough that I don't have to worry about money,
Yeah.
then I'll be able to live life this way. And I thought to myself, I'm like, because I've heard it over and over and over and over again, right? We always hear people that talk about like, money doesn't fix your problems. Money doesn't make you happy. You get fucking rich and you're still dealing with the same stuff. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to get to the point where we're quote unquote financially secure.
Yeah.
And then still be sitting there being like
Miserable about whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just going to do it all now.
Yeah.
Because why the fuck not?
100%.
And so that's just how I'm living life now, where I don't really worry about those things anymore. I don't stress about them when they're present moment. And it's like, okay, well, we have to do this today.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll do this today.
Yeah.
Right. I'll take care of this today. And then if something comes tomorrow, I'll take care of that tomorrow. But I don't even really spend a lot of time thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Most of the time I'm just waking up and thinking about, okay, what am I doing today? And just moving however I feel like I want to move, doing whatever. Like I got home today and I wanted to do some editing for podcasts, but I also wanted to eat and I needed a shower. And it was like, what do I want to do? Well, I'm going to shower. And then I got out of the shower and I'm like, well, what do I want to do? I just want to eat. Well, I'm going to eat. Like I just do whatever the fuck I want to do.
I appreciate you showering.
You're welcome. So it's interesting. It's a different way that I've ever experienced life before. And it comes through in a lot of unique ways, but truthfully, it comes down to not just my ability, but like my belief that there's two things that we have to kind of constantly battle back and forth between. And really there's only one thing, but I think of it from a binary because I think that it's kind of set up that way, meaning like life and the structure of life and everything like that, where it's either love or fear. And I could always find all of like money for me was always fear-based. It was always, I was afraid of this. I was afraid of this. It was lack. It was less, right? It was like, we don't have enough money to do these things. We don't have enough money to do those things. It was all of that kind of fear-based mindset and thinking. And when I turned it to love and I just flipped it to love, all of that fear went away. And I'm like, oh. And so now I'm just looking for opportunities to find fear in my life and sit with it until I can flip it to love. And so now I'm just seeing everything through that lens. And it's like, it's been amazing. It's changed everything for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You said how you just said it, talking about you said it. I wanted to say something. I lost it. Dang it.
Let's rewind.
Yeah. I think it's hard. I mean, especially with the money stuff, like being afraid of like, hey, the lack of it, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely, I think if you wanted to look at it in the binary, like you could look at it as like, hey, I don't have enough money for these things. Or the opposite of that would be like, I have enough money to do this, right? And I think that's how I always was. Like, it wasn't, we can't afford that stuff. Here's what we can afford to do. Right. So that was just like, yeah, does, however that all worked out and what we were doing, that's just what we could afford to, have. That was, like, I never complained about the chip beef, like meals. I never complained about hot dogs and the mac and cheese and,
Right.
Just not a lot of hot dog in the mac and cheese, but some hot dog in the mac, stuff like that. Oh man, some of the best snacks I ever had. We used to took, this is terrible, government cheese, right? Split it into 4, so you fold it, and then you put it on a saltine cracker.
Okay.
And you microwave it. Right? They're delicious.
Yeah.
Right? They're like homemade Cheez-Its. They're stupid shit like that, right? But yeah, I definitely think it's hard too, because finances are like the number one thing that people stress about, that couples stress about, that, end relationships.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it comes down to like people trying to, we can't afford to do these things, the keeping up with the Joneses, and all this stuff. And when you think about happiness and how the relationship there with money, like I think about like buying the materialistic side of this, right? Like buying, I'm not saying that I'm anti-materialistic, right? Like I think it's been pretty, like I can't wait to buy a new truck, right?
Yeah.
I literally just, every time I drive, I'm like,
I know. I'm staring at Tacomas every time I see them.
Yeah.
They've got a new design, like the latest Tacoma is like a slightly different body design.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's getting good.
Right. You're like, look at that thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not unhappy because I don't have that truck right now, right? I know that it's like, at some point I'm going to get a new truck. It's just going to happen, right? Whether that's next year, this year, 3 years from now, whatever, like it's just going to happen. There could be some kind of forcing function. Like if my truck's like, out, right? Then it's like, oh, that's what has to happen now. Yeah. Okay, cool. But I think that a lot of people are constantly pushing this like, well, I got to have all these other little things and all the little accoutrements and all this. I joked, and it wasn't an intentional thing. At one point, my mom was like, here's, your back to school clothes. This is what you get, and it was not a lot. I was like, all right. And I went online and I bought 108 Hanes pocket tees, like a case of Hanes gray pocket tees. And I wore those fuckers every day. I did. I wore the same shirt, not the same shirt, but like I rotated. Right. I took 14 shirts out and I marked the tags 1 through 14 and I rotated out, and that's what I did.
Then you might be on the spectrum.
I totally get that. And I just wore these gray pocket tees. That's all I wore, right?
I love the idea. I've heard this thing recently where it's like you see, like that's why Steve Jobs wore the same thing every single day.
For one, it's you are removing the choice. Exactly. He did it for the choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about, where it's like, I love the idea of not having to spend my creative energy and my time and all of those things on what I'm going to wear. Yeah. It's just, I know what I like to wear and it's always there. It's always the same thing. I'm just pulling and wearing the same clothes every single day. Yeah. Simply because now I can eliminate that from.
It's no longer a decision I need to think about, right? Like, I mean, even to the point now, and like I normally wear a polo, right? And I don't today. It's the weekend. But like during the week, like there's a good chance I have a polo on. I have either a work branded shirt or a polo on. And half the time it could be both in the same day. Yeah. But that's what I wear. I literally sent Jamie a text today. I was like, I need to get some really nice Athens Jiu-Jitsu t-shirts. I'll get a dozen printed up. There'll be like I'll buy them. I'm not going to print them for the whole gym or anything like that right now. I might, whatever. But if I have a dozen, I'll just wear them every day. Yeah. And if I'm walking around Athens, like, hey, guess what? If I wear the same, and I can just tell you that I can have a really comfortable tri-blend, maybe a woolly. Ooh, do some woolly branded woolies. Yeah. Ooh.
They have a good polo.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna totally, I got to do this. I got to get more of the woolly stuff. But Athens Jiu-Jitsu like shirt, right? And just like, and if I walk around every day, Athens, or not walk around, just wandering the streets, but if I'm doing my life, participating in life around Athens Jiu-Jitsu, and if one time in the next 12 months somebody's like, "Oh, do you go there?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I train there," and it starts a conversation, and one person comes in.
That's already happened to me.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah.
I try to wear mine every time I go out and about when I'm, door dashing or doing different things.
Your Athens Jiu-Jitsu shirt. I appreciate the fuck out of that.
Yeah, dude.
I'm just gonna like wear. I'm really trying to figure out if we can get the things are moving along. Maybe the new truck has to have Athens Jiu-Jitsu branding on it.
Wrap on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
Then it's a write-off.
It's totally a write-off.
Then it's a write-off. Like,
right?
what do you mean you write it off? Just as write-off.
Just write it off.
Just write it off.
Yeah.
That's
a really, I've thought about that a lot with the podcasts where it's like driving around in a Stephen Craig mobile.
Yeah.
That's just branded with all the Stephen Craig
Right?
stuff for the podcast. And yeah.
I'm sure there's some there's tax incentives for all this or whatever, as soon as we find a good CPA, they'll tell us how to do all that. But I think the whole point back to the keeping up with the Joneses and happiness and finances is if I buy something, that's what it is. It's the cost of having things and operating in the world of what we're doing. But I don't think about all the fancy stuff that I don't have. I don't do it. If I buy something nice and it's great, awesome. If I buy something cheap and it's great, awesome. Right. I don't care. I will. There are some things Jamie got me the boots that I wear. Right. Those were a Christmas present, and I fucking love them. I've been wearing them for over a year now. Right. I think they're the coolest boots in the world. I love their slip-on boots. Genius. Comfortable slip-on boots. Most boots are slip-on, but I like wearing them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm fairly confident that I am wearing some kind of Payless tennis shoe. I don't even know what brand it is or where. I think I got them I might have got them at Target.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are, right? But they were just hey, that's a good tennis shoe. If I'll wear it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think a lot about what would you chalk up to this point in your life where you're at a phase where would you equally say that you're kind of the happiest that you've ever been?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
And what would you say were some things that you did to get to that spot?
Well, what I tell my kids every day is one of the things I think that's really been the big differentiator is just my own personal work ethic and some of that. And I think I like to work and working hard while I feel good working hard doing these things, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be something that is financially, it doesn't why am I doing phase 1 right now? I got 20, I'm fucking juggling life.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's not even home right now. I'm sole parenting.
Doing the sole proprietorship.
Doing the sole proprietorship right now at my house. As my wife calls it, we're running boot camp right now. I've made some parenting decisions that I'm this is the way this world's going to work for you. I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast because, everybody's thoughts are different.
Hey, everybody parents a little bit different.
Everybody parents is a little bit different. There's no doubt if you were around me, how I parent.
I've learned a long time ago to not judge parenting.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where, holy shit, dude. I look back and there's some decisions and some choices and things like that I've done as a parent in the 25 years that I've been a parent.
Yeah.
That I'm not proud of in the slightest.
Totally.
That I completely regret 100%. And if I were to see those things from the outside, I'd be like, who is that motherfucker?
Yeah.
Who is that guy right now, right?
Yep.
Terrible fucking decisions as a parent. And so I always think about that. When you catch sometimes you'll see the mom or dad or whoever, right, in the grocery store, and they're going off on their kid or whatever's happening or whatever's taking place.
Yeah.
And I look at it so differently than I used to. I'm not a proponent of any form of physical abuse in any way, even spanking and things like that, even though I have spanked my kids back in the day and things, and I was spanked and all those kind of things. I'm not a proponent of it. I don't think it's necessary. But at the same time, I'm not judging people for the choices and decisions that they make as a parent, simply because it's I mean, it's one of the hardest things that people do. You know, it's
It
one of
is.
the hardest jobs in the world, trying to raise kids.
I think that makes you probably a slightly better person than me because I totally judge people.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. I probably judge the other side when I'm like, when I see your kid, like, running around just screaming. Like, this was years ago. I watched a kid just walk in an aisle at a grocery store and just like put his arm into the aisle and just like 150 jars and bottles of stuff just on the floor. And the mom was just like, stop.
Wow.
And just like, come on. And wouldn't even like forcefully pull this 4-year-old's hand. The 4-year-old was like, no, fuck you, mom. I'm not moving.
Right.
And the mom's like, I'm not. And I'm like, this is the worst. I totally just stood there and watched. Stop shopping. Just watch for a minute. And she looked at me and I was like,
just watching the show.
yeah,
lady.
yeah. Just want to see where this shit's going, right? Like, are you going to lose your shit right now? Like, or is this kid going to win? Right? Like, battle of the wits right here. I see who's already on top. Like, so I see some of that and I judge a little bit, but I tend to parent the other opposite side of that, right? So I'm sure that the same would be for somebody who's like, hey man, you can't raise your voice at your kids. They would look at me and be like, you're the Antichrist, right? Because my voice is already loud.
Yeah.
So I think that and I agree, hey, parent your kid the way you want to parent your kid. That's your decision. That's physically and just emotionally your right as the parent. You're like, hey, I brought you into this world. If I want to fuck you all up, that's on me, right? I can do that. Because we don't have the best, like, here's what's right, here's what's wrong. And I think we talked about this, like the way that you were parented is a different world.
Yeah.
It's whole new game, right? Like it's a whole other country, like that shit it's different.
Yeah, it's totally different. I think the world's obviously different and things like that. But for me, I see parenting, like, not only do I see it differently, but I don't think it really matters the state of the world or the things that are going on. I mean, there's always going to be some thing that, is different than it was in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? But at the end of the day, I think parenting is a really simple, basic thing that, you can apply basic skills of compassion and love and support and, all of those kind of things, regardless, whatever the scenario is. But I want to get back to happiness. So what do you think you have done at this point in life to get to this point in life? Like, what are some key things that we could pull out so people are listening that it's like, yeah, that's great. You guys are fucking happy right now.
Yeah. Like,
but
what was
life's
the thing
still
you
fucking
did?
miserable for me right now, right?
I feel like I don't have a great answer, because if you were like, hey, what's the one thing that's made you I met my wife.
Right.
Like, sorry, she's taken. You guys can't fucking have her. Right? Like, if anything, I'd say be open to the love of your life. Right? Maybe not too open. But like, and challenge your beliefs a little bit in that, because, Jamie was different than anyone I had ever been with, ever even been it was just such remember, like, the first time we had breakfast, I literally sat and I was in awe of her. And I did that stupid, like, the movie thing. I got in my car, I called my mom, I was like, oh my God, like, what the hell?
Do you feel like you guys were meant to be together?
I do.
Like, do you feel like there is not just meant to be together, but that there was
another plan, like a plan to make that happen?
Yeah.
I do, right? That's my belief in some of that. Me and the kids asked me a question about this today. I don't necessarily believe that everything that happens from the moment of birth to the moment of death is written out. I think that the opportunities for all of those things are available, and I have the tools to choose my path. And depending on the tools I choose to use, and I don't want to. When I say exploit, I mean like to use and to like, hey, I'm going to really lean into this. And I think that there are like. There's a great opportunity out there for everyone when it comes to love, and you just have got to, sometimes you got to be open to like being in the right place at the right time, which you may never know. I literally, like the night I met Jamie and hung out with her, I tried not to go. I was like, because it was her friend who was hitting on me, or she wasn't hitting on me. She was just being a friend, like, hey, you should go out with us. And I was like, and she had told me like a week before that she was into younger guys. I knew I was younger, and I was like, that's not my jam.
Yeah.
She was from New Jersey. It's a thing for me. You don't date people from New Jersey. No, I'm just fucking around. But I literally told this other woman who's Jamie's friend, Carrie, like, no, I don't want to go out. Like, I'm not interested. And she just kept kind of like, no, you have to. Like, it's a thing that we do. And not a, hey, just go out with me or like that. But I was like, fine. And I just gave in because I just was like, I'm just going to sit here. It was a shitty night. And I was just kind of in a shitty mood. I had a bunch of negative things going on in my world. And I was like, no. And I was like, I could just sit here and just be fucking sorry for myself and be miserable, watch some TV, eat some food, maybe drink a cocktail, go jerk off and fucking go to bed, right? Or I could go out and meet some people, and you know what? I could just go be miserable somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? And you never know what happens. Maybe somebody else will want to jerk me off, right? Who knows? That's but
the night is young.
The night is young. Who knows what happens? And I had no intentions of any of that, and I went, and I mean, just happenly to have a conversation, interact with Jamie in the space. And I mean, literally, like, we just became quickly like connected. And the next day we spent the night together. Nothing happened. This is before Uber, so cabs were a lot harder and stuff like that. We both had experiences with drinking, so we were like, no, we don't want to do any of this. But the next morning we had breakfast, and I, like, as we talked, I was like, oh my God. I told her, I was like, you're the smart. I was like, you're like a smart girl. Like, I was just floored. Yeah. Right. And just her personality and and she was super into working out, and I loved that. She was tough. Like, I'd seen her be strong and stuff, and I was just everything about her. She's a whole package. So that's where happiness really began for me. That's the biggest thing for me is my relationship with my wife. Like, I mean, my kids are right there. Yeah. But I know that my kids couldn't have been a thing without my wife. And I know that I care more about my kids because of my wife, because of my relationship with my wife. Like, I'm more there, because it's important.
Do you think that you would still be, not just be, but do you think you would still be able to cultivate and create and maintain a happy life without Jamie?
I'll just be 100% honest. I don't know if I can even make that frame of reference. Yeah. That reality is like, why even try to imagine that? Yeah. Right. Like, it's not what I want.
For sure.
Yeah. That sounds.
It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I tend to bet on myself, but I just can't imagine that being true. Yeah. Like, that's the thing, right? And I'll tell you, it's not always the best thing in the world, right? We're in a relationship and things are hard sometimes, right?
Dude. I mean, that's such the misnomer, right? Is that good relationships aren't hard. Like, they're so fucking hard.
They're so fucking hard.
They're never easy. No. We'll have times where things are easy and going well. Yeah. But that immediately changes. Yep. Like, it's like instantaneously you're in the shit. Yeah. And it's like, okay, got to figure out how we're going to get out of this one. Yeah. Because this relationship is really good and I want to continue and I want to maintain it. But it's not easy. It's the whole thing where, like, good relationships take work. And I don't think that we really understand that to the full extent of like how much they actually take, right? Yeah. It's not the type of thing where you can, as soon as you start taking your relationship for granted, it starts to deteriorate. It starts to fall apart. It's one of those things where it's a constant thing that has to be addressed and looked at and cultivated, and you have to devote time to it if you want it to be a happy, healthy, strong relationship. Otherwise, it's not. And I think a lot of people don't do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think the majority of people out there that aren't in good relationships or aren't happy in their relationships, it's probably because they don't spend a lot of time focusing on the relationship and focusing on, it's not even necessarily like working on the relationship. It's just devoting time to the relationship. Do you know what I mean?
Devoting time to the relationship and understanding what a relationship is.
Right.
A relationship is not a one-way street. It's a relationship. It's how two things are interacting, not how this interacts with me. It's how we interact back and forth. I think that's one of the things that is probably like, I think hey, what are the things, like, if there's something that I know like ekes Jamie a little bit, like, hey, is there something I can do about this?
Yeah.
Right. Can I change this? And especially if it's something for me, right? Some of it's dumb things, right? Some of them are like, yeah, whatever. Like, we don't care. It's not worth arguing about. But, and then even in the aspect of like, I'm going to raise my voice, we're going to have a conversation that's heated and is that worth, do I actually feel that way right now? And is it worth how I'm saying this and this interaction and all this? Is this the escalation that I want to take right now? And as soon as, I think Jamie and I do a really good job with this, is because we're passionate people. And sometimes we start going, and it could be me thinking about a work thing, and, and then she'll look at me, she's like, why are you yelling? And I'm like, you're right. Take a breath, like, hey, I'm sorry, right? And same, I've looked at her, I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Like, she's like, she'll take a breath, and she's like, you're right. Like, something else was coming in, and we just, because we know it doesn't, like, what's going on in the argument or like that doesn't trump how much we care about each other. And I would never want to do anything intentionally to hurt my wife, and I know she would never want to intentionally do anything to hurt me. So we take that moment, and we're like, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please share. Like, where are we at?
So I've got some things that I can speak to that have helped in the cultivation of a happy life.
Okay.
Because it's something that I've diligently worked on for like a decade. And it's something that I've thought a lot about too, because, so I'll just summarize it. I'll summarize a decade here in the next 5 minutes, right? But the realization for me came that a couple of key things when I really started to take accountability was when things really started to change. And I'm talking about like truthful, honest, real accountability for my actions. And that came through my relationship with Steph. Every other relationship prior to that, I was avoiding accountability. I was doing everything I could to not take accountability for my actions. And I've been able to process it and look back and recognize, like, I remember growing up and not being accountable for my actions, growing up not wanting to get in trouble. If I got caught for something growing up, it would be like, how can I get out of this with the least amount of trouble as possible? So it's always lying about things. It's always trying to like half-truth things and try to understand how much they actually know about what's going on, because then that tells me how much I can actually share get away with and share or not. So I'm constantly trying to shirk responsibility left and right as much as I possibly can in all relationships, whether it was primary relationships with whoever I was dating, friendships, coworkers, bosses, like anything that I could possibly do to avoid 100% accountability for my actions. And that also meant like for myself, where I not just wasn't being accountable to other people, but choices and decisions that I was making in my life, even though I knew that they had severe consequences, I wasn't choosing otherwise. So I was making those decisions fully knowing that there were going to be negative consequences for those things, but still doing it. So I'm not even being accountable to myself, right? And it's the same thing too, where it's like the simple thing of like, right now we're doing carnivore, we're doing all these different things and cold showers and everything like that, right? I would agree to do something like this, and then fully knowing that I'm going to half-ass it at some point, and then I'm probably not going to finish it, and then come up with some story about why I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
So I would even avoid accountability on an individual basis. And the first, like, let's see, Steph and I got married in 2015. Like, it wasn't until 2017, if I remember right, 2 years after we got married, was when I finally just started to take accountability for everything. And I mean, at that point, we had been together for 5 years already.
Yeah.
Because we got together in 2012. And so it was like, that was the first time in my life where I was ready to be fully accountable and responsible for my actions and my choices and my decisions. And it was something that wasn't easy. Like it took a lot of practice. Like accountability, I think, is one of those things that does take practice, where it's not just, I can't just show up and be like,
I'm going to be accountable though.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where it's like, there was a lot of messing up. There was a lot of, falling back into old routines of trying to, manipulate, hide, cover up, not be truthful, all of those kind of things. It took a really long time for me to practice and practice and practice accountability. So that was a really big shift that helped a lot. And then discipline was the other one. And it was my relationship with discipline, because it's my whole life I thought about discipline directly from that relationship with parents, right? It's the disciplinary from my parents. I'm in trouble. I'm being disciplined for something. It's getting in trouble at school. And now I'm being, disciplined for something. So just my association with that word was always a negative connotation. And so I would avoid discipline at all costs. I never, ever, ever liked getting in trouble for anything. I mean, it goes back to accountability as well. But like the idea that somebody was like, I was going to get a disciplinary action for something that I did or something like that, I'd be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, I think I told, like, I don't remember if it was on the podcast or not, but it was like when I played football for like 2 weeks, my junior year in high school, and I had to go and like take a piss, and I just ran over to the tree and took a piss, and then came back to the field, and one of the coaches was so pissed off, and then I had to stay afterwards and like do bear crawls, up and down the field, because I got disciplined for this choice that I made, and be like, fuck you guys, not playing football anymore because I don't like being disciplined. So I had to look at discipline from a very, very different angle, and it became like a real act of self-discipline, where I was like, if I was going to say that I was going to do something, then I was going to do it. And I had to start with the simplest, littlest things that were completely within my control. So it was less about, accountability and saying I was going to do something in regards to other people and relationships. It was really just like, I'm going to do this thing every single day. And for a long time, what that was for me was journaling, because I had a relationship with journaling my whole life. Like I remember journaling in elementary school and keeping a journal even after that, right? So I've been doing it for a really long time. And I decided 2-3 years ago, I don't remember how long ago it's been now, but it was like every single day, no matter what, I'm going to get up and I'm going to journal in this fucking book. And I just did it every single day. And most days, like the truth of it was most days I hated it. Most days I felt like it was pointless. Most days I felt like, what the fuck, this is such a waste of time. I hate journaling. I don't know what I'm writing. This is so stupid. And it was something that I just really did not enjoy. And there's times when I still don't enjoy it. But after a while of doing that, it became the thing that suddenly I reflected back on, and it was like, holy cow, I have been so disciplined in this act of just showing up every single day and journaling. And it was like, wow, I did it. Like I did the thing that I said I was going to do. And it was like a year and a half afterwards. And I was like, every single day I have done this thing. And then it helped me in that moment too, reflect on like all of these other things in my life that had become these disciplined acts of just showing up and doing what I was, saying, doing the things that I said I was going to do. And it was those combination of those two things of showing up for myself, being accountable, being disciplined. And again, like that, the flip of looking at discipline from a very different angle and recognizing it as, it's what Jocko talks about when he get up.
I'm sitting here, and as you're saying all this, I'm like,
right.
It's like discipline breeds freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But I couldn't hear that stuff because I was hearing that stuff through the lens of like, fuck you. Like, you ain't going to tell me what to do.
I get that.
I'm going to make my own decisions. You can't tell me what to do. All those kind of things, because I had all of that bullshit from childhood, right? I had that relationship with discipline. So I didn't see it through that lens and through that perspective. But I had to find my way there eventually.
Yep.
And in doing so, it was like, oh, these things are the things that built the foundation for me to not just start feeling confident about myself, recognizing that it's like I was accountable for my actions and my choices and the decisions that I was making. And suddenly those decisions got a lot better.
Yeah.
Where I wasn't making poor decisions anymore. I wasn't fucking up and making mistakes. I wasn't doing things that I had to lie about and that I had to cover up. I was making good choices in my life because I recognized that there was consequences that I was going to have to be accountable for, right? And it was like, I love Stephanie with everything I've got. And she's got an incredible gift. And I don't think it's just, I mean, she's incredibly special, but I think humans always know when somebody's lying.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a human ability that we have, because you think about it, like I remember being a kid and people telling me stuff and I'd be like, that ain't true. Like I know they're fucking lying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just it's that sixth sense in your fucking belly. I could use it all the time when I was a cop.
Yeah.
As soon as you start talking to somebody, even if they were like very, very good at lying, I'm like, you got the fucking lying. I got to figure this one out because I know you're fucking lying. They're like, we're not lying. I'm like, you're fucking lying.
Man.
Right.
It's I got my kids this morning. Nora was like, I was like, "What do you guys eat for breakfast?" I don't want to interrupt. Sorry, please continue. But I want to tell you what my kids in line. You'll love this.
But I think that getting to those points in my life where I was able to start really being accountable and being disciplined gave me the ability to start building upon those things. And in doing so, life got easier.
Yeah.
And, the choices that I made were easier to make. Decision making was easier. Everything just started to become much easier. And I also think it's really important too. This is one thing that I've learned because, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's like, I'll be happy when, as soon as this happens, I'll be happy. And a lot of that mindset for me, a lot of that, I can't rest and things aren't good right now and I'll be happy. I can't even begin to take the steps to be happy because I've got all these other things that I'm dealing with. So much of what helped me cultivate the life that I wanted, a happy life that I wanted, was I had to feel safe.
Yeah.
Safety, I think, is one of those things that is really, really paramount. And I look at it through that lens and that perspective of like the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in an activated state, one of those fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses, you're activated. You don't feel safe. You're moving through life in an activated way. And I think the vast majority of people move through life in an activated state and have no awareness of it. And so it made a lot of sense to me that, I couldn't even begin to feel safe to start to practice accountability and discipline and eventually get to a happy life, because I was always activated. I was always in some form of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response.
Yep.
And consistently in those states over the course of my entire life, it made so much sense when I was like, oh, well, of course I couldn't do these things because I didn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it came through my relationship with Steph, where it was like we eventually were able to figure out, I don't even know how, because it was just a fucking, by the luck.
Like when that happened.
Right, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah. Just one day I was like,
at some point something shifted and we just started to feel safe with each other. And then more safety and more safety and more safety. And now it's like our relationship is the safest place that I feel. Do you know what I mean? I feel so incredibly safe with her, loved by her, like I'm not scared of things anymore in regards to like what we have to face or what we have to deal with or what might happen or what I might say, or I just feel so incredibly safe in that. But I've also learned that I've had to cultivate that same level of safety within myself, because I've looked at that scenario of like not just her, but all the people that I love no longer being in my life. And I've sat in those spots of like really being with that fear of losing all of those things and finding happiness still in those spaces. And of course, I don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that I don't ever have to face those things. And I'm not interested in facing those things.
Yeah.
But I've learned over the years of how to cultivate that same sense of safety within myself so that I can continually strive to cultivate and create the level of happiness and accountability and all these other kind of things strictly within my own. Because that's the other thing too that I really got in the process of taking accountability for my actions and choices. It made me realize that it was up to me.
Yep.
100% up to me.
Yep.
And that was the thing that was a huge significant shift.
I think that's the hardest thing for people to realize.
Yeah.
Is to be honest, like if we were to boil all this down, happiness is a choice.
It's very much a choice.
It's very much like you can choose to be unhappy about all these things. You know, you can choose to let the anxiety, and I believe that there are probably people out there who can't, they're trying.
Well, because they're not safe, right? Because they're still in activation.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, well, to that point, that's probably why I'm so fucking happy, is because I'm not in any kind of activated state. I've probably also lived in a super activated state for years.
Majority of your life.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. And now I'm like, I weigh 245 pounds. Like, I'm fairly decent at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Good at Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. I'm a relatively strong individual. I know how to manipulate weapons to, with the, you know, probably better than most. I'm not afraid of anything. I mean, obviously, like, there's things out there that would be fucking terrible and all that, but like, that's, I feel safe, you know, I don't think about that stuff. And I agree. Like, I feel 100% safe with Jamie, and like, there's not a thing that I could share with her that I would worry about how she judges me. Everything from I mean, she literally made a joke the other day about a part of my life that is not my brightest moments, right? And she made a joke about it, and I was like, yeah, 100%, right? Like, and I knew it wasn't an attack or anything like that. It was 100% out of, she knew that she could, and I thought it was hilarious, and I knew that it was a safe space to like make that joke, and yeah, I feel 100% safe with my wife. Like, it's, and I do believe that, like, that safety and that choice, right? Because I think you got to have both. You got to be able to say that you're safe and know and feel that you're safe. But then you also still have to make the choice to be happy. Yeah. Because you can be in a safe space and still not choose to be happy.
And see, I totally agree with you. And I think that that's because that's the thing that you would hear like, I know there's somebody that's listening to this right now and they're like, fuck off. Like, you guys, like, oh, it's so easy to make these choices in life.
Beg and Craig's life are just fucking magical.
Right.
But you don't know the shit I'm dealing with.
Exactly. And I've been in that mindset, and it's really easy to stay in that mindset. And it's not simple. It's not easy to just flip this like a switch where it's like, well, just be happy. It's a choice.
Make
the decision. Wake up every day and just decide that you're going to be happy, right? And again, it always came back to me where it was like, when I really started to address my nervous system and what I was actually feeling, and all the emotions and feelings that were underneath everything, where it was like, there was a lot of anger inside of me. There was a lot of anger inside of me that I had just been carrying my whole entire life. Just a big old fucking ball of it that would never go away and never went anywhere because I was never addressing it. I was never speaking to it. I was never allowing it to be felt. And then on top of that anger was shame. And unpacking those two things, like finding ways to tap in and connect and feel anger and process anger and let anger out and relieve myself of anger and be angry at people and be angry at things like that had happened and things like that, right? And then also recognizing where my shame came from. I don't think shame, we had a gal on the podcast the other day, the episode's not out yet, but she was talking about shame from this perspective of, it's not something, like, it's not an emotion. It's not something that we're born with. It's something that's given to us. Shame is something that's placed upon us by other people. It's something that, it's like somebody else had an experience and now they're shaming you for the thing. It's not a normal human response to things. It's not love. It's not joy. It's not anger. It's not sadness. It's not an emotion. It's,
Did you just list the characters from Inside Out? I think you did. I think you used sadness, joy, anger. And
it's been a while since I've seen it.
what's the other one? Doubt.
Doubt. I don't know.
What's the skinny guy?
It's been a while.
I don't know, man.
But dealing with shame
Yeah.
was the other factor of like those two things, and connecting to those things helped my nervous system start to calm down. It helped that safety start to come into my life and into my body to where I was able to feel calm and feel safe. And then all of these external things that cause us to not feel safe, like the things with money and the things with stress of this and kids and life and all of these other kind of things, I was more able to manage and deal with those things because I had a calmer, more regulated nervous system more frequently than not.
Yep.
And then it's just the consistency over time, day in and day out, which again goes back to discipline. It's like I'm choosing these disciplined acts of connecting to myself, connecting to my body, processing emotion, feeling emotion. And then it's just like, that's the chop wood, carry fucking water that eventually led me to a happy, joyful life.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I agree. I think you gotta, you have to kind of like give into it a little bit, right?
Yeah, there's very much surrender.
Yeah, surrender to the like, all right, like, you know, somebody take the wheel. We're gonna not that kind of surrender. That's a terrible, you know, I don't like that. Like somebody take the, like that's first of all, physics. You're already going straight, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. Like, oh, what are we doing? You don't let go of the wheel. Whoa! Like that's unless you got a shitty alignment. Then you know, stop buying fucking auction cars. Let's tie it all back. Yeah, man. I think it's an important choice, and I think that you can go through super happy moments, right, and then kind of like stumble a little in that, right, and you can be like, you know, sometimes you're walking around, you're like, fuck yeah, you know, and you're like, oh, and hey, I gotta carry this while I'm at it, and you're like, that's fine, like it's a little whatever, still super life's great, right, and like, oh, I gotta carry this too, and like, you know, the next thing you know, you're like, oh shit, like I'm carrying a bunch of stuff, and this is getting a lot harder for me. And it's harder to see and hear and feel that joy because I'm exhausted with these things. And then sometimes you just got to shrug those fucking shoulders and shrug that shit off and just be like, why am I carrying all this?
Yeah, that was boundaries for me.
Yeah.
That was recognizing that it wasn't, because that's all it was. It was like, put it on. I can fucking carry it. I can fucking do it no matter what it is, right? I'll just keep, like I could lift anything. It didn't matter what it was. I could always carry the thing, whatever it was. And it got to the point where it was like, started the healing and started processing, but I had next to no fucking boundaries. And so I was allowing things into my space that were hurting me. I was letting, you know, people in relationships still treat me in such a way because I didn't have boundaries. And that was what another part of the process was, where it was like I started to learn how to set up really good boundaries in order to protect this happiness and in order to create a space where it's like, you're not going to fuck with my joy.
Yeah.
You're not getting into this space to mess with it. Like, it's just not an option. And it doesn't have to, like, you know, that was another big factor too, where it was like, but that was something else that I had to learn. That was something else that took a ton of practice.
I appreciate you letting me in. I want you to know that I try real hard with our boundaries.
Yeah.
I try not to call you or text you after, because I know that I'm a night owl.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And I felt bad even. I did it. Full understanding. I sent you that video last night, and I was like, I know he's sleeping. I'm going to send it anyways. Because if he's sleeping, it probably won't wake him up.
See, that's cool. You can always send it because I've got boundaries.
Yeah.
It's on silent and it's in my fucking drawer. I'm not even looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. See, I can't hear my phone, so it doesn't matter, right? Like, if like your phone went off. Oh, really? Cool. Where is it? But I think, I mean, surrendering to boundaries to some things, right? Surrendering to some things, but setting boundaries in others. Like, yeah, don't come in here and fuck up with my pudding, right? Like, this is my life, right? Why would I let this person who put a nanosecond of thought into me as a human being, let that affect me?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why would I let them, like, they're not thinking this hard about this shit, right? Like, why let that go? That's, some of that stuff's like where you start looking at, again, I think a lot of this goes into the, like, keeping up with the Joneses and, like, looking out and, you know, the news, like, watching the news stuff all the time. I'm like,
I don't ever, like, I was going to, it's funny because I've been meaning to talk to you on the podcast about, like, we should talk about current events and what's going on in the world. I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
I'm really not great at it. I know stuff that is in my wheelhouse more, like the airplane crash in DC.
So you joked about that the other day.
I totally did.
And I didn't.
Let's stop over. I didn't joke.
You mentioned that.
I mentioned it. I didn't joke about a terrible, tragic incident that involved 67 lives. Like, that's...
See, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
When you mentioned that the other day, I was like, you're mentioning something that's taken place, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I don't pay it, and it's like I just have decided.
Did you learn more about it after that?
No. Because I don't.
An American Airlines airplane ran into a military helicopter.
Really?
Outside of DC, Reagan. Yeah.
That's
killed
terrible.
Everybody. Yeah. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It'll be a big deal. Because it was a military helicopter.
Yeah.
That's a circle that I fly in, run in. I spin in.
Yeah.
Right? Helicopter joke. So we know, like, there's a lot of stuff that's going to come out about all that, what that was, what was going on and all that unfortunately, like, it was mistakes.
Yeah,
lots of things. Yeah. Lots of things that not going to look good for anybody. Some people are going to get let go of their jobs. All that's going to happen. Some poor decisions were made. Swiss cheese happened.
Yeah.
But I don't put a lot into...
I don't follow anything.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like, the news, what's happening in the world. Like, I know that we've got a new president, and I know he's doing a bunch of things that people are commenting on. And I have, like, the faintest, like, it's very, very far out on my periphery where I have to, like, turn and I can barely catch just the faintest whiff of it.
Yeah.
That's how much I pay attention to it. And I've learned over the years that it's like, it doesn't, all of that stuff does is cultivate fear and anxiety and stress in my body. And I live a much happier, less stressful life when I'm not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And then everybody always has the argument where oh, isn't that fucking nice? And it's like, well, that's not doing anything. You're just putting your head in the sand.
Yeah.
And I don't think as humans we're actually supposed to
have that much, like, it's too much. It's information overload.
It's just, we're just not designed to process all of that information because it's like, well, you're not doing anything about it. It's like, it's because I'm not supposed to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. That's not my responsibility to do things about what's taking place on a global level. My responsibility as a human is to take place or to deal with what's in front of me.
Yeah.
It's to affect the community of people that are around me.
Yeah.
It's for me to live the best life that I can so that everybody that I encounter, I can share love with.
Yep.
I can try to see them as a human. I can try to move through life that way. That's my responsibility. That's how I'm affecting the global things, is by my day in and day out interactions with every single person that I encounter.
Yep.
And that's all I can do. I can't do anything to fix what's going on at the White House or what's going on in all the other countries in the world or what's happening over there or what's happening over here. Like, I know we had fires in LA and I know there's still shit in North Carolina that they didn't address. Like, there's a lot of problems in the world.
Yep.
And I can't do anything about them. One of my favorite guys, Ram Dass, he's like, all you can do is your own work.
Yep.
That's all you can do.
Yep.
I can work on myself and you can work on yourself. And that's all we can actually do. But if I do a good job at my job, which is Craig, then I'm going to show up way better in the world.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fucking people over. I'm not ruining people's lives. I'm not hurting people. I'm actually moving through life with love.
I think you hurt some people once in a while.
Every now and then. Right? It happens on accident.
Yep.
Only on the mat, though.
Accident. I love looking over and seeing Craig like, oh, yeah? You do like a little hair whip. You whip your hair, and then you like... All right.
Every now and then.
Every now and then.
Well, sometimes it's helpful. I'm helping that person learn.
Yeah, consequences.
Exactly. If they want to do that thing, there's going to be a result for that, right? If somebody chooses
Causality.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's some causality.
That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu is it teaches lessons.
It does.
It's life lessons there. Do that thing, and there's going to be a counter to it. It's fucking science. Equal and opposite reaction, right?
Move. My shoulder, I'm telling you, like
from the one we were dinking around with?
Yeah. I was just like, you did it, and I was like, oh, fuck.
It's so funny because it doesn't seem like you're doing anything when you're doing it.
There's no pressure required. Yeah. It's so light.
Yeah. I'm going to keep dinking with it.
Yeah, I think there's some, I think that over where you like got shoved my face, like I don't think I'll be able to hit that. But I think with that block and that
with that knee coming across, that was really good.
Yeah, I think that's a solid move for me. Which just kind of fits into the repertoire of things that I tend to do anyways.
Yeah. Anytime you can find jiu-jitsu moves that are in your wheelhouse, then you're just like, ooh. And that one is like, because that's side mount. Yeah. That's giving them the underhook. Yeah. That's setting me up to do stuff. So I'm excited to play with it.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I wanted to share because consequences.
Yes.
Right. So this ties perfectly into story of my children this morning. So last night, my wife's out of town, right? So it's me and the kids, and it sucks. Like, and I want to frame this in an aspect of there's normally two of them. When the unit, life is easier. When you remove one of them, especially the parent, it becomes harder. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who's in charge, right? So I understand I travel a lot. When I travel, it's harder for Jamie. I totally get that. When Jamie travels, it's harder for me, right? That's just the way it works. Jamie has dealt with a lot more of my travel nowadays. Hey, one sec. I actually think she's about to take off.
She's about getting on the plane now.
Boarding my first flight.
Perfect.
I just want to send her, I love you. Fly safe.
I'm glad you're coming home, Jamie.
Right? Can't wait to see you. Okay. So like when Jamie and I first got together and we had Lincoln, like I was stay-at-home dad, right? And then for a long time was the one, because Jamie had a corporate, put the nice clothes on, drive to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and all that. And I was hey, get up, let's do breakfast. Even with daycare drop off, keep one kid, whatever the world was doing, right? And then things have changed now. I travel more for work. That's where my path has gone. So we have these different sides of it. So I told the kids, I was like, here's the deal. I was like, Mom's gone. I was like, she's going to be gone for a couple of days. I was, we're going to change some things. some things I've seen that I'm not, that's not how we operate.
There's some shit going on around here.
Yeah. We're going to fucking knock that shit off right now. So I told them last night, I was like, here's the deal, kids. I was like, you want to wake up early? Because on the weekend, like, it's hard to get them out of bed sometimes. Like, hey, their alarm goes off at 6:30, and you're like, hey, it's time to get up, start doing your shit, right? And they have their routine list of all the stuff they have to accomplish. And they putz around, take forever. You're always like, come on, we shit to do. So I told them this last night. I was like, here's the deal. You wake up whatever time you want. As long as you go through, and I want your entire routine done. I want you to feed the dog. I want you to make your breakfast, get dressed, put socks and shoes on. Because my intention is to sleep in, right? I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to put some clothes on, and we're going to the gym.
Yeah.
That's my plan for the day. So I'm telling them, like, hey, as long as you do everything you're supposed to do in the morning, your morning routine, and you do it all the way. I don't mean like, yeah, I totally made I checked it off, but I didn't maybe actually do it.
Yeah.
And Lincoln has a tendency where if on the weekends, I'm like, yeah, man, just make yourself breakfast, then you can go watch TV. He'll be like, all right, he eats a Hawaiian roll because he is shortening the distance the time it takes to get to the TV. And I'm like, no, that's not fucking breakfast. So I told him this morning, I was like, do all your stuff, make sure you eat breakfast. And I'm not talking about a Hawaiian roll with some butter on it. That's not breakfast. Eat breakfast.
Yeah.
If you want to do 3 Hawaiian rolls with peanut butter and jelly on it, that's fine. Nor have a bowl of cereal, like whatever, right? But eat some real food. Then you can go downstairs, watch TV. I was like, if you screw this up and you half-ass something, you'll be grounded all weekend. I was like, if we're home, you're in your room, no TV, just whatever's in your room, that's it. Sucks, right? And then I'm over here like, this is the easiest way to parent. My children are stuck in their room, and I'm like wandering around. And we agree. We shake.
Okay.
We agree. This is an agreement. I'm not forcing. We're agreeing. I'm explaining that you can do this, and then this, however. They say, okay. So we get done. I wake up. All right, hey, everything seems to be done. I walk by, dog bowl's full. I'm like, okay, we did our stuff, right? Walk around, like, okay, they have some toys out where I can see they were playing, but for the most part, everything's done.
Yeah. Sweet.
Get upstairs. Hey, I didn't even make breakfast this morning, but I was like, because I didn't know how I was going to feel with all that. I said, we'll just go train. So I wake up, I get ready. Hey, let's go. Socks, shoes already on. Awesome. Great job. Let's get in the car. We leave. And we weren't at the gym a lot. Normally we can tend to be there sometimes till like 11:30 in the morning. And then it's fucking lunchtime.
Yeah.
Well, we left at like 10:15 or something. So we get in the car and I'm like, and they're like, hey, can we go eat? And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we really want lunch. And I'm like, it's like 10 o'clock. I'm like, what do you mean you really want lunch? And I know what time. They woke up at like 7:45.
Okay.
Right. So they didn't eat at 5 a.m.
Right, they weren't up at 5 yet.
Yeah. And they're like, well, we're hungry. I was like, well, what'd you eat for breakfast? And Lincoln kind of goes into this. I was like, well, did you eat breakfast? And they're like, yeah. I was like, what'd you have? And Lincoln kind of goes like, yeah, I don't remember. And I was like, oh. And I was like, Nora, what'd you have for breakfast? She's like, a bowl of cereal. I walked out and looked at the kitchen, and there was no bowl of cereal. There's no empty bowl in the sink.
Right.
The only bowl in there is from me last night.
Yeah.
And
I
was
wasn't
like,
doing dishes, putting everything away.
I was like, well, where's your bowl? And we're driving home. And I was like, where's your bowl? And she's like, Lincoln didn't eat either. Straight up died. He's like, I just don't remember. And they start going, and I'm like, stop. Listen, y'all two are dumb. You had one thing. Like, that was it. And they're like, all right. And they're like, well, can we have a snack? No. That's your consequence. It'll be lunchtime soon. I'm sorry. That's where we're going with this. And they were just like, but I'm hungry. I was like, yeah, I totally get that. I bet you are. And they're like, oh, and then like 5 minutes go by, we're still not quite home. And Lincoln's like, so do we have to go to our room? I was like, I actually think this is fine. I'm okay with you guys. We have other things to do. We're not going to watch TV. I was like, but you can play. I don't care what you do. I was like, I'm going to make myself some food because I've already like set, like, this is how I'm going to do my day.
Yeah.
Because, and I was like, so I'm going to make myself breakfast, take a shower, and then we're going to go to your basketball game. I will feed you before your basketball game. Right. But yeah, Nora, she's just like, I mean, literally, I was like, where's your bowl at? She's like, Lincoln didn't eat too. just diving on each other, up, left, just dropping dimes. And like, I want to look at him. And that's the thing with kids, right? Because you look at me like, you're not that smart. Like, everything you have, I see right through it.
Yeah.
I see who you are as I don't know if you know this, kid. I've known you your whole fucking life, right? You ain't got no new magic tricks that I haven't seen yet.
I loved when we used to catch our kids lying.
Oh my God.
Because they're terrible at it.
Oh, so bad.
Just so bad at it.
Yeah.
And it was some of the funnest times because, there was one time when we picked up, it wasn't our kid actually, it was one of Asher's friends. And we picked them up and I don't remember what the lie was about. It was something very insignificant, but this buddy of his was like, had the absolute worst poker face. And so Asher's telling us something, right?
Yeah.
Asher's feeding us the line of whatever it is that they're trying to get across. It was like a sleepover and they had talked to mom and dad. And it was everything was going to be fine. And then we like looked at his friends and we're like, and then we ask him and he's just like, he's like stares, like won't make eye contact and just like stares off to the side. And then both of us are just like, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Let's call your mom. Let's see what mom's got to say about this.
Yeah. Well,
it's so fun.
Lincoln will come home sometimes because he's a bit of a thief, right? And I think it's mostly, I don't think that he intentionally, maliciously is stealing things from people, but like somebody sets it down and he's like, I like this.
Yeah.
And then just doesn't set it back down. Or he's like, I like this, I want it, and he puts it in his backpack, right? But he comes home with stuff. I'm like, where'd you get that at? And he's like, so-and-so gave it to me. I was like, for what? And he's like, I don't know. They just gave it to me. We traded. I was like, what'd you trade? He's like, something that I didn't want anymore. And I'm like, oh, yeah? I was like, what was his name? I don't know his name. And I'm like, you don't know his name? I was like, well, then we'll call the teacher.
Yeah.
And we'll find out. Like, because we know all your teachers. Like, we'll just call the teacher. And they'll tell us who you were talking to or where this might have came from. But I'll tell you, man, one of the best but worst things that we did is we've given this amnesty. Lincoln understands what amnesty means.
Okay.
Right? Because there's been a few times where you're like, hey, like what? So this happened at Christmas. Did I tell you the watch story?
I think I remember.
Oh my God. This totally. I had basically gotten a gift basket that had a Apple Watch in it, right?
Yeah.
And it was the like SE, like the low. It's not a super fancy one, but it's still an Apple Watch.
Yeah, dude.
Right, a couple $100. I have one. Jamie has one. There's no need for us to have another. Like what? And I was like, well, we can give this as a Christmas present, right? I'm going to re-gift this a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't need this, but somebody will get joy out of this. My niece doesn't have an Apple Watch, and her brother's got one, her mom's got one. I was like, well, I'll give this to my niece. This will be great. So it's got the box, and it's November, and I'm like, well, Christmas is fucking less than 2 months. It'll be great. So it sat on the counter for a while. It got shuffled around, getting ready to wrap Christmas presents, and I started looking for this thing, and we can't find it. I mean, Jamie and I tear the house apart. I'm like, where the fuck is this? It's in a box. Like it's an Apple. Like nobody threw it away.
Yeah.
Where the fuck? Like we're millennials. We don't throw away those kind of boxes, right? We keep our cell phone boxes and all that shit. I have all my laptop boxes, right? Because we're millennials. That's what we do. We're
going to
idiots.
use that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that one day.
Yeah.
Because I got to return something.
Yeah. Fucking, we're so dumb. I hate being called out for it, but I keep all that.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it.
I can tell you right where the boxes are for our cell phones right now.
Yeah, exactly, right? So so I'm sitting there and I'm fine, man, where the fuck is, so I asked the kids, like it's nighttime, they're having dinner, me and Jamie are sitting there, I was like, hey, have you guys seen this? And they're like, no, we don't know where it is. And I was like, oh. I was like, all right. And I'm sitting there and something's wrong. I just don't quite, I'm not
You
buying
can feel it.
I can feel it. Something's off. And I just straight up, I was like, hey, I'm going to give you guys amnesty, which means right now, when I say amnesty, you are going to tell me the truth. And it doesn't matter what the answer is. You won't get in trouble. I was like, because I'm giving you the get out of jail free. If I say amnesty, that means you can tell me the truth. You won't get in trouble. I won't be mad at you. I will appreciate you telling me the truth. We'll just move on. It won't get brought up again. And Lincoln kind of looked, he's like, okay. I was like, where's the wife? She's like, it's in my room. And I was like, you motherfucker. I didn't. But Jamie was just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I mean, not a blink. He just like, yeah, it's in my room. I'll get it. And I was like, you son of a bitch. Like, first of all, good on you, because if I would have found it in your room later, like it would have been real hard.
Yeah.
Right? For him not to catch these hands. Like, that's just one of those, like, I spent 3 hours. I asked you directly. You fucking lied to me. Like, you're going to learn a lesson about this. But yeah, just no miss. Just like, oh yeah, it's in my room. I was like, you son of a... He took it apart. He put the band on it and was playing with it. He's like, I couldn't get it to work. I was just trying to help you out. I'm like, nope. You wanted to fuck with it. You didn't care. You weren't trying to help me.
Yeah.
Don't fucking lie about this.
There was one time I picked up one of our daughters from her friend's house, and she was a teenager. And it was one of those moments where I picked her up and I'm driving home, and she was just behaving weird, sitting in the passenger seat. And she was also hanging out with some friends that we weren't big fans of at the time, right? And we're sitting there driving home, and suddenly out of nowhere, I caught just the faintest whiff of marijuana. Just like, just barely blew past me, right? And I was like, it was so faint that I questioned it. I was like,
did I smell that?
Right. And at the time, Stephanie and I were smoking. So it was like we didn't smoke with the kids in the car.
Smoked.
Just cigarettes.
Cigarette. Okay.
Yeah. And so it was hard because it was like...
There's already that...
Yeah, there's already something maybe, right?
And the air freshener.
Yeah. And I'm like... And I just caught the faintest little whiff of something. And we're sitting there driving, and I look over at her, and I'm like... Because she had her hoodie. I can't remember if it was her hoodie. I can't remember if I was like, hand me your hoodie, or I had her like, let me see your hand.
Yeah.
And I grabbed her hand or her hoodie, and I smelled it. and I couldn't smell anything.
Okay.
It was like there was nothing. So I was like, man, that's crazy. In my head, I'm like, oof. But
I feel like I'm onto something.
right. And because it was totally, I was a cop at the time. It was like,
and you're like, if totally makes sense. Like I pick up like that residue, like it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Your hands pick up scents. Like nothing.
Totally.
Or like nothing else.
Yeah. And I mean, I had a very finely tuned smeller because, you know, I pull over vehicles all the time.
Yeah.
And as soon as you catch a whiff, so I was like, So I started to doubt myself. And we just keep driving, and it's real awkward silence. And then finally she's just like, it's what you think it is. She totally just came.
The pressure was too great.
I didn't even say. I didn't even like. It was just enough to be like, let me smell that. And I smelled it, and I was like, And then in my head, I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Fuck, you know. And I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want to like.
Right. I don't want to.
You know, kids, they get the. I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, and I've done this. I've accused.
Right.
Right. Because it's all. And then you accuse, and then like that the last piece of evidence comes out, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. Do you understand why? Which is me just explaining why it's okay for me to do that, right? I'm like, you understand why I'm upset about this, right? I'm sorry that I yelled at you. You weren't the one in the wrong here. This was why I was upset,
right?
and you lie to me so many other times I can't. So I'm still just like, fuck, it's all you, kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is probably not healthy, but yeah, dude,
it was so funny.
Yeah.
Because I was totally to the point in my process of like, my investigation was just about closed. I had just about concluded the investigation and chalked it up. They're like, fuck, man, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, right before it was like, I was going to, you know, close it up and finish my report. End of report, nothing here. She was, I'm so sorry. And I was like, well.
Yep.
Sucks to be you, kid. Looks like I got you red-handed.
Yeah. Let me see the evidence that I don't know about.
It was so funny, man. There were so many moments like that with all of our kids where it's like you catch them in those lies and you see through it. And like there's a lot of times where we just like let it go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's like you got to definitely pick your battles and do different things because it's such a natural thing for kids, I think, the phase of like, not just learning how to lie, learning how to do different things, but it's like the differentiation between parents, like they're trying to push away from you in a sense. And, you know, it's like, I'm not you. And they have to do this process of all of that kind of stuff. And it's so freaking hard, but
it's hard
so
to
important.
Like different parents,
yeah,
like kids and how they, I've only heard a side of a story. And my mom was telling me the other day they were over and she looked at Lincoln. She's like, hey, go take your shoes off. Go wash your hands. And he apparently said no. And I wasn't standing there. But my mom and Dave were and Jamie. And she's like, the fuck? She's like, what? Excuse me? He's like, no. She's like, no, I said go do that. And he continued to refuse. This is the story I've heard. So I don't know the truth. I haven't heard Jamie's side of this or anything like that. This is what my mom said. And but he continues. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, I just told you to go do this. Why are you like thrown almost by the fact that he's like, no. And finally she's like, well, shit, like we've gotten this far. Like there has to be the next step now. And she like chased him around the kitchen with the fucking towel, like, fucking, you won't do what the fuck I say. Right. And my mom was like, yeah, she's like, he would have never done that if you were standing there. And I was like, not a chance.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like that. You see the videos when they're like, hey, mom, why don't you shut up? And the dad just get up like, oh, somebody's getting their ass beat. Right. That's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, he's pushing those boundaries with her. Right. Because he thinks he's like, well, maybe I can.
It's so normal. It's so healthy.
Yeah.
It's such a, like, that's the thing is like, that's one of those things that I wish I would have done differently. Is seeing all of those kind of behaviors from a very different perspective rather than be like, oh, okay, you think that's what's going to happen today? I don't know if you know who's in charge around here, but turns out. Yeah, I wish I would have just done all of those things differently, but it is what it is, of course, right?
I mean, Lincoln tried to tell me that his door belonged to his mother the other day. I was like, you know whose fucking door that is? He's like, Mom's. And I was like, whoa. I was like, you're not wrong. I was like, it's totally half hers. And the other half's mine. This is not your door.
Yeah, dude. They're fun.
Yeah.
Kids are great.
Yeah, he took a piece of paper. The ball's on the kids sometimes. He got mad. He got in trouble for something. He was like hitting his sister or something, right? So I was like, hey, go to your fucking room. Like, you're in trouble. And he's gone through these waves where like gets in trouble, so we have to constantly escalate. So at one point he had nothing in his room but books. Like, I took all his toys. I was like, nope, you've lost all this. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You understand. You know the rule, and you're just not doing it.
Yeah.
So he's just in there. So he's got a piece of, notebook and a pen, and he draws out like 5 pages, and he's some tape that he got in trouble for having, right? Lied to me about having. I was like, you know where the tape is? No, I don't know. And then he's taping shit to his fucking. He paints up mom or dad and Nora not allowed, mom only. And he paints and he comes out, opens his door, and he's like, and puts him on his door. And I walk, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, ha! Just laugh at him and rip it off. I'm like, I'm going to take the door off the damn hinges, kid. Like, what do you think is going on? You think this is your room? Like, but he's the balls just to be like, no, you're not allowed to come in here. I'm like, okay.
It's too fun, dude.
Yep.
Well, everybody, you've come to the end of another episode of Brave Men Dare.
This is a great one.
It was a good episode.
I like this.
It's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
And as always, go subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Come follow us anywhere and everywhere, especially YouTube. Actually, anywhere. It doesn't really matter where you follow us, but we love it when you subscribe to us on YouTube and leave a comment on one of our videos. And if you want to reach out and connect with us, our email is bravemendare@gmail.com. Or you can just message us on any of our social media platforms, because we love to hear how you're benefiting from these episodes or what you want to hear on these episodes as well. If there's topics that get triggered and come up for you when you're listening, shoot them over and we'll discuss whether or not we actually want to talk about them.
I think we need to upload a video of us doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That's
a good idea.
I kind of don't want to, because it's like, what Craig and what Ben show up for the video of us doing jiu-jitsu? Like today was hard, man.
Yeah.
It was
an interesting role.
It was.
It's the whole thing where I have to learn, because I'm learning how to roll with you differently, because I also, like, if I meet force with Ben, then I get hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested.
Oh
yeah. It's nothing on you.
Yeah.
You're not hurting me.
Yeah.
I'm confronting the hard thing with another hard thing, and I'm not interested in doing that, right? Yeah. So I have to learn how to, it's like I was saying earlier, where it's like I'm trying to manipulate and steer you in different directions.
Yeah.
Not just because I want your jiu-jitsu to get better, but it's easier when you're doing shit that you don't like doing.
Oh yeah, because I don't want to fucking be here.
And it's much easier for me to do stuff that I want to be doing.
Weird how that works. Yeah, I mean, that was like the whole, like, because I for a minute I just pinned you. I was like, I'm just going to hold you here.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, because normally I was like, I just let you like do stuff, and I play bottom most, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to hold you here for a while, see how this works. And you didn't like it.
No, I'm not a fan of it. I don't enjoy it.
I'm not going to lie. I got tired, and I was like, fuck, man, I'm just exhausted sitting here holding him. And then you just kept, it was like Novocaine, you just kept going, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to hold this forever. Like, he's going to get out of this.
I will make small incremental movements the entire time. To make you work as hard as you possibly can. And then as soon as I get that opportunity, I'm fucking going.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn everything on, because I'm not going to get back there on the bottom. But then you did, right at the end there was that nice little, but there was also, I was doing something else. I don't remember what it was.
Out.
Do you remember what it was?
I remember you got out, right? And I went to I was like, oh shit, right? So I think I went to a guard, and then you started pulling me around, and I just went to turtle, and then you took my back. You never had like hooks in or anything like that, but you were on my back, and I was just blocking and holding. And then what was it? Did I do
because there was some other reversal at that point, like right at the end there, where it was like, now I was ending up on the bottom again. But it was almost like, I can't remember what it was, but I was like, it opened up something that I was going to go for. And then it was like, well.
Oh, and then was it that round or the other round? Did we do 2 rounds today?
Did we? We did do 2 rounds. The first round we did.
There was the one that was like, the 30-second, like it was at the clock,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't. I don't remember how that.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Fucking
it was fun.
jiu-jitsu,
We
right?
should post a video.
We will. We'll do
yeah.
some more content. It's great. So not only Brave Mendare, but go check out Athens Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, I appreciate
it. Gets
that.
tagged a lot on our social. We do. Did you see the story I did today?
Yeah, of Lincoln. Yeah. That's I'll tell you, man. He's it's so funny to be part of the like helping with the kids class.
Yeah.
Because I've been helping now with the bigger kids class, and Lincoln's in there, right? And super excited to help out. I'm love that age to teach and all that, but it's so funny to watch Lincoln. Some of the things he did, like he pulled guard the other day and was butt scooting and straight up was like trying to hook somebody's foot with with his foot, and he like did a couple moves. I was like, okay, kid, like you can see the like understanding and problem solving starting to happen, as opposed to just like the young kid who doesn't really know what he.
Yeah, I love it. He's great. He's
Yeah.
at a really fun age. So when I was rolling with him today,
Yeah,
you know, I had him inside. Well, he had me in side mount, so he's up in
Yeah.
side mount, right?
Yeah.
And he kept wanting to take mount.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just stay there for a minute, dude. And so I kept like keeping him in side mount.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stay in side mount, get this position, slow down, and then I let him get over on my arm and get
Yeah.
that nice little. And I'm like, see. And as soon as he locks it up and
Yeah.
everything, so he's totally putting the pieces together. He's totally at that spot where he knows some submissions, he knows some technique.
Yeah.
But it's like, just slow down a little bit.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no reason to go to mount every single time. You can.
That's because that's what I do.
I know.
There's a path.
Path of least resistance.
That's right.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
listen, no matter what we do, we're gonna wherever we start on this road, I'm gonna try to get to your back. I'm gonna try to get to mount, and if I can, I'm gonna try to get to your back, and if I can, I'm gonna probably try to take your belly down.
Mhm.
And if a submission presents itself on that path, I might take that. I might even forego that and just continue on my path. It's really
It's a
fun.
lot of fun. We'll post some more jiu-jitsu content.
It'll be super fun.
Yeah, it'll be great. Everybody, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Love you. Dude.
Love you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Brave Mendare. If you haven't yet, take a moment and subscribe to our channel, click that little notification bell, and check out some of these other clips. Last but not least, we'd really appreciate it if you sent this podcast to somebody else. Share it with a friend, share it with a buddy, and don't hesitate to reach out. The conversations that we have on the podcast are meant to inspire you, but also we want to hear what it brings up for you. Whether you share it in the comment, send us an email, or call us up. But thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next episode.